The general's quarters aboard the Invisible Hand are a monument to separatist excess. Ornate columns, polished floors, and a raised platform where Supreme Chancellor Palpatine sits, bound to an admiral's chair. The space battle rages beyond the viewport, Republic and Separatist ships exchanging fire in the void above Coruscant. Anakin Skywalker stands over Count Dooku, with two lightsabers held in an X formation at the Sith Lord's throat. His own blue blade hums in his left hand. Dooku's curved red saber, seized midair after the final disarming strike, burns in his right. The Count kneels between them, his severed hands lying on the deck where they fell, cauterized stumps held before him in shock and agony. Dooku's aristocratic face shows no fear, only confusion. He looks past Anakin toward Palpatine, searching for some signal, some indication this is part of the plan they discussed before the Jedi arrived. The plan where he kills Obi-Wan and surrenders to Anakin. The plan where all three of them, Sidious, Dooku, and Skywalker, rule the galaxy together. Palpatine's voice cuts through the chamber, grandfatherly and urgent. Good, Anakin, good. Kill him. Anakin's hands tighten on both hilts. The red blade feels wrong in his grip, unbalanced, curved for Makashi precision rather than his aggressive Gem-So style. But it's functional, lethal. Positioned perfectly to decapitate the kneeling Sith Lord with one swift motion. Behind him, Obi-Wan Kenobi lies unconscious beneath a fallen console, knocked out early in the duel when Dooku force threw him into the balcony railing. His breathing is steady but labored. Blood mats his auburn hair. Dooku's eyes lock onto Palpatine's. There's a question in them, a desperate, silent plea. This isn't the plan. Tell him to stop. Palpatine leans forward in his restraints, voice sharpening. Kill him now. Anakin hesitates. His blue eyes flicker with conflict. The Jedi Code screams at him. This is murder. Execution of a helpless prisoner. Exactly the kind of dark side temptation he's supposed to resist. But the rage is there too. The memory of Geonosis, of his mother's death, of every Jedi Dooku has killed over 3 years of war. I shouldn't. Anakin's voice is barely a whisper. Do it. The command carries force weight, subtle compulsion layered beneath Palpatine's words, pushing at Anakin's mind, stoking his anger, feeding his worst impulses. Anakin's fingers tense on the activation studs, and then the universe breaks open. It hits him like a Star Destroyer collision. 20 years of memories that don't belong to him, that shouldn't exist, flooding through every synapse with the crushing weight of lived experience. Mustafar. Lava flows reflecting off black armor. Obi-Wan's anguished voice. You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you. The smell of his own flesh burning. The agony of severed limbs. Medical droids hovering. Palpatine's cold satisfaction. You are Darth Vader. Rise. The suit. 20 years of breathing through a machine. In out, in out, in out. The constant mechanical rhythm. Pressure against scar tissue that never heals. The itch he can never scratch because the nerve interfaces only transmit pain. The weight of the helmet. The restricted vision. The prison. Padme's funeral. White gown flowing around her still pregnant body. Flowers in her hands. The medical droid's report. She's lost the will to live. Palpatine's lie. It seems in your anger you killed her. Luke. Leia. His children, alive. Growing up without him. Luke on Tatooine with Owen and Beru, staring at twin sons. Leia on Alderaan with Bail Organa, learning politics and strength, neither knowing their father exists as anything but a monster. Hunting Jedi, face after face, name after name, running them down across the outer rim. His red blade igniting in dark corridors. The fear in their eyes when they recognize who's come for them. The pleas for mercy he never grants. Hundreds, thousands, until the order is almost extinct. Serving the Emperor, 20 years of kneeling, taking orders, crushing rebellions, enforcing tyranny, standing silent while Alderaan burns, 2 billion lives including his daughter's adoptive parents, never strong enough to break free. The Death Star, Luke's face on Bespin. I am your father, Cloud City, the Emperor's lightning, the choice to save his son, throwing Palpatine down the reactor shaft, the mask coming off, seeing Luke with his own eyes, blue, not yellow. Tell your sister, you were right. Death. 20 years compressed into 3 seconds of real time. Anakin's entire body goes rigid. The lightsabers waver. His eyes roll back, showing whites. A strangled sound escapes his throat. Not quite a scream, not quite a gasp. Somewhere between drowning and waking from a nightmare that was actually real. The blue blade deactivates first, falling from nerveless fingers to clatter on the deck. The red saber follows, extinguishing as Anakin's hand opens involuntarily. It bounces once, rolls toward Dooku's severed hand, and comes to rest against the cauterized wrist. Anakin staggers backward 3 steps. His boot heels hit the edge of the raised platform. He catches himself on a support column, breathing in ragged gasps. Sweat streams down his face. His scar, the one that runs through his right eye from the Battle of Ventress, stands out livid against skin gone pale. Anakin? Palpatine's voice carries concern now, edged with confusion. My boy, are you all right? Anakin doesn't answer. Can't answer. He's staring at his hands like they belong to someone else. These hands that in another timeline, in the timeline he just lived for 20 years, murdered younglings in the temple. These hands that choked Padme on Mustafar. These hands that served the Emperor and slaughtered thousands. Clean hands. For now, but not for long if he makes the choice Palpatine is pushing him toward. Count Dooku uses the moment of confusion to look back at Palpatine, and his aristocratic features shift from pain-racked confusion to dawning horror. He sees it now. The setup. The betrayal. He was never meant to rule alongside Sidious. He was always meant to die here, his death the final push to turn Skywalker to the dark side. You. Dooku's voice is hoarse with shock and blood loss. This was never about partnership. I was just another tool. Palpatine's expression doesn't change. Count Dooku, you're delirious from pain. I should have seen it. Dooku's laugh is bitter, wet. Treachery is the way of the Sith. How many times did I tell myself that? And still I believed. He looks at his severed hands. I believed I was different. Special. That you needed me. The ship lurches violently. Not a weapon impact. Something deeper. More structural. The distant sound of secondary explosions echoes through the superstructure. Through the viewport, debris streams past. Pieces of the Invisible Hand's own hull plating, torn away by the barrage from the Republic Star Destroyer Gwar Lara that hit the mass driver cannon magazine moments before the duel ended. Emergency alarms begin wailing. Red warning lights strobe across the ornate chamber. The artificial gravity wavers for half a second, just long enough for everyone to feel their stomachs lurch, then stabilizes. On the bridge, Captain Lushros Dauphine is screaming at his crew, "Reverse stabilizers. Magnetize their feet." The Neimoidians' panic is audible even through multiple bulkheads. Starfighters and multi-troop transports are falling from the hangar as the ship tilts, their pilots unable to compensate fast enough. Anakin's awareness snaps back to the present. The Vader memories are still there, vivid, overwhelming, impossible to ignore. But he's functional again, processing. And what he's processing is this. He's standing in the general's quarters of a dying capital ship with an unconscious Obi-Wan, a dismembered Sith Lord, and Darth Sidious wearing the face of the Supreme Chancellor. And if he kills Dooku right now, everything he just experienced, every moment of that 20-year nightmare, becomes inevitable. No. Anakin's voice is rough, strained, but absolutely certain. Palpatine's head tilts slightly. Anakin? No. I won't. Anakin pushes off the column and walks toward his fallen lightsaber. His movements are controlled, but his hands are shaking. I'm not killing him. I'm not becoming your monster. Palpatine's expression flickers. Just for a microsecond, the grandfatherly mask slips, and something cold and reptilian looks out from behind his eyes. Then it's gone, replaced by concern and confusion. My boy, you've been through a terrible ordeal. The battle, the stress, I know what you are. Anakin retrieves his lightsaber and ignites it. The blue blade casts harsh shadows across his face. He turns to face Palpatine directly. I know what you're planning. I know about Order 66. I know about the Empire. I know about the suit and Mustafar and what you'll turn me into if I let you. Silence. Absolute silence except for the alarms and the groan of stressed hull plating. Palpatine stares at Anakin with an expression that's becoming increasingly difficult to read. Confusion, yes. Concern, certainly. But beneath it, Anakin can feel something else through the Force. Cold calculation, rapid assessment, contingency planning happening at quantum speed. Anakin, Palpatine says slowly, I don't know what visions you've had, but the dark side can show you false futures, terrible possibilities meant to test you, to make you afraid. These aren't visions. Anakin's voice is hard. I lived them. 20 years. I remember all of it. Every day in that suit. Every Jedi I hunted. Every time I knelt before you and called you master while hating you with everything I had, but being too weak and broken to do anything about it. Dooku is staring at Anakin now with something approaching wonder. You've seen the future? Your own future? I've lived it. Anakin doesn't take his eyes off Palpatine. And it starts here. Right here. With me killing you on his orders and taking the first step toward becoming Darth Vader. The viewport cracks, not catastrophically, but enough to send spiderwebs through the transparisteel. Somewhere below, emergency booster engines are firing, trying to arrest the uncontrolled descent. The ship begins to level out, groaning like a living thing in pain. Anakin makes his decision. He moves toward Dooku with purpose, his lightsaber still ignited. Dooku's eyes widen. You said you wouldn't. I'm not killing you. Anakin kneels beside the Count, extending his free hand. I'm saving you, because you're the only proof I have. He places his palm over one of Dooku's cauterized stumps. The Count gasps as the force flows through Anakin's hand, not healing exactly, but something more aggressive, searing the wound more thoroughly, preventing infection, stimulating the body's natural shock response to keep Dooku conscious and mobile. It's a technique Anakin shouldn't know, a dark side healing method that Vader learned over years of maintaining his own damaged body. Brutal, efficient, agonizing. Dooku screams. Palpatine watches this with eyes that are no longer even pretending to be concerned. Anakin, what are you doing? Taking a prisoner. Anakin finishes with the first stump and moves to the second. You wanted me to execute him, to give in to anger and take the quick, easy path. That's not happening. He's coming with us. Alive, and he's going to tell the Jedi Council exactly who you are and what you've been planning. He sears the second stump. Dooku's scream is weaker this time, his voice giving out, his body reaching the limits of what it can endure. There, Anakin stands. You'll live? Probably wish you hadn't, but you'll live. Another explosion much closer. The chamber's power flickers. Emergency lighting kicks in, harsh white LEDs that turn everything stark and clinical. Anakin crosses to where Obi-Wan lies beneath the fallen console. He lifts the debris with the Force, not gently, just efficiently, and tosses it aside. Then he kneels beside his former master and places both hands on Obi-Wan's temples. This technique is more familiar. A Jedi healing method for rousing unconscious minds. But Anakin pushes harder than he should, channels more Force energy than is strictly necessary. He needs Obi-Wan awake now, not in 5 minutes when they're all dead from explosive decompression. Obi-Wan's eyes snap open. He gasps, tries to sit up too fast, and Anakin has to steady him. Easy, Master. You took a hard hit. Anakin? Obi-Wan's voice is slurred, disoriented. His eyes focus slowly, tracking across the chamber. He sees Dooku kneeling with severed hands, sees Palpatine still bound to the chair, sees the alarm lights and cracked viewport. What? What happened? The ship's dying. We need to move. Now. Anakin helps Obi-Wan to his feet. Can you walk? I think so. Obi-Wan shakes his head, trying to clear it. Then his eyes lock onto Dooku. Anakin, why is Count Dooku still alive? And why are his hands? He stops, looks at Anakin's face. What did you do? I chose differently. Anakin retrieves Dooku's fallen red lightsaber and clips it to his belt opposite his own. The Chancellor ordered me to execute a helpless prisoner. I refused. Obi-Wan's gaze shifts to Palpatine, searching his face for confirmation. Palpatine meets his eyes with perfect grandfatherly warmth. Obi-Wan, thank the Force you're all right. I was under extreme duress. I wasn't thinking clearly. Anakin is right to refuse such an order. The code forbids. You're lying. Anakin's voice cuts across Palpatine's like a vibroblade. Stop pretending. We're past that now. Anakin, Obi-Wan says carefully, concern creeping into his voice. What's going on? What happened while I was unconscious? Before Anakin can answer, Count Dooku speaks. His voice is weak but carries the weight of absolute conviction. The Chancellor is Darth Sidious. The words fall into the chamber like thermal detonators. Obi-Wan goes very still. What did you just say? The Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic is Darth Sidious, Dark Lord of the Sith Master we've been hunting for 13 years. Dooku's aristocratic accent makes each word crisp, despite his pain. I know because I have served him as his apprentice since shortly after I left the Jedi Order. Obi-Wan looks at Palpatine, at his concerned, confused expression, at the way he's struggling against his restraints as if desperate to deny these accusations. That's impossible, Obi-Wan says. The Chancellor has been a friend to the Jedi. He's led the Republic through the war. I thought I was his partner in building a new order, but I was just another pawn, just like you, just like all of us. This is madness, Palpatine says. His voice is calm, reasonable. Count Dooku is trying to save himself with lies. He knows he faces execution for war crimes. He's attempting to deflect blame. He's not lying. Anakin's voice is quiet but absolute. I know he's not lying because I've seen the future. The future where I execute Dooku right here, right now, on your orders. Where I take the first step toward becoming Darth Vader. Where I help you destroy the Jedi Order and build the Empire on its ashes. Obi-Wan is staring at Anakin now. Really staring. Looking at him the way you look at someone who's suddenly speaking a language you don't understand. Anakin, did you hit your head? Are you experiencing some kind of force vision? It wasn't a vision. I lived it. For 20 years. I remember the suit, the respirator, Padme dying because of what I became, Luke and Leia growing up without me, hunting Jedi across the galaxy while serving the Emperor. Serving him. Anakin points at Palpatine with his lightsaber. I remember all of it. And I'm not letting it happen. The ship lurches again. This time the angle is severe. A 20-degree list that sends everyone sliding toward the starboard bulkhead. Dooku can't catch himself with no hands, and slams into the wall with a grunt of pain. Obi-Wan grabs a column. Anakin rides it out with perfect balance, his center of gravity shifting automatically. Palpatine remains strapped to his chair, but his expression has changed. The mask is slipping further. There's calculation in his eyes now, cold assessment of a plan falling apart. We need to move, Anakin says. This ship won't hold together much longer. We're going to the bridge, all 4 of us. And when we get there, we're taking control and landing this wreck on Coruscant. And then we're taking the Chancellor into custody and exposing him for what he is. You can't arrest the Supreme Chancellor, Palpatine says. But there's less warmth in his voice now, less pretense. The Senate won't allow it. The clone army won't allow it. You're talking about a coup, Anakin. Is that what you've become? I'm talking about stopping a Sith Lord before he destroys the Republic and turns it into a dictatorship. Anakin moves toward Palpatine, his lightsaber still ignited. And if you try to stop me, I'll do what I should have done 20 years ago. I'll kill you right here. Palpatine's eyes meet Anakin's. For the first time, genuine uncertainty flickers there. This isn't going according to plan. This isn't the Anakin Skywalker he's been manipulating for 13 years. This is someone else. Someone harder. Someone who speaks with the cold certainty of a man who's already lived through the worst possible outcome and has nothing left to lose. Anakin, Obi-Wan says carefully, I don't understand what's happening, but we need to think this through. If you're wrong about the Chancellor, Anakin uses the Force to release Palpatine's restraints, but immediately puts his lightsaber to the Chancellor's throat. Master, I need you to trust me. Just for now. Just until we can verify everything. Can you do that? Obi-Wan looks between Anakin and Dooku and Palpatine. His hand rests on his own lightsaber hilt. Every instinct is screaming at him that this is wrong. Arresting the Supreme Chancellor based on the word of a Sith Lord and Anakin's inexplicable claim to have lived 20 years in the future. But he spent 13 years training Anakin Skywalker. He knows the boy, the man better than almost anyone. And what he sees in Anakin's eyes right now isn't madness. It's terrible. Absolute certainty. All right, Obi-Wan says quietly. I'll trust you. For now. Thank you, Master. Anakin gestures with his blade. Chancellor, on your feet. Slowly. Count Dooku, you're coming too. We're all going to the bridge together. And the first one who tries anything gets run through. Understood? Palpatine stands slowly. His movements are those of an old man. Stiff. Careful. non-threatening. But Anakin can feel his presence in the Force now that he's looking for it. The darkness that's always been there, hidden beneath layers of Force concealment. The cold, patient malevolence of a predator who's played a game across decades and is watching it threatened by a single unexpected variable. Dooku struggles to his feet, using the wall for support. Without hands, every movement is awkward, painful. But he's upright, mobile. We're going to the bridge, Anakin repeats. Stay together. No one gets separated. If this ship breaks apart, we all die together. Another explosion punctuates his words. Closer. Much closer. They move toward the exit in a tight group, Anakin at the front with his lightsaber at Palpatine's back. Obi-Wan supporting Dooku, all of them acutely aware that the invisible hand is tearing itself apart around them, and they're still 20 minutes from landing. If they make it that long, the corridors of the invisible hand are chaos incarnate. Emergency lighting strobes red and white across bulkheads scarred by blaster fire and shrapnel. Smoke fills the air, the acrid chemical smell of burning insulation mixed with the copper tang of blood. Bodies lie scattered. Battle droids torn apart by the Republic boarding action. Super battle droids with their chassis cracked open. Even a few clone troopers in white armor who didn't make it back to their transports before the ship began its death spiral. Anakin leads the group through the maze with perfect certainty. He shouldn't know this ship's layout. He's never been aboard the Invisible Hand before today, but Vader's memories provide a complete tactical schematic. The Dark Lord spent years studying separatist capital ship designs, hunting Jedi who tried to hide aboard derelict vessels, and those memories are crystal clear. Left at the junction, straight through the crew quarters. Avoid the starboard corridor. It's already decompressed based on the pressure differential he can sense through the Force. Up 2 levels via the maintenance shaft because the turbo lifts are offline. Behind him, Palpatine walks with careful dignity despite the lightsaber blade hovering centimeters from his spine. Obi-Wan supports Count Dooku, the Sith Lord's armless form leaning heavily against the Jedi Master. All 4 of them are covered in soot and blood, some their own, some from the battle. The service shaft is ahead, Anakin says without looking back. We'll need to climb. The gravity's going to fail again once the emergency boosters cut out. How do you know that? Obi-Wan asks. His voice is steady, but there's an undercurrent of deep concern. He's watching Anakin the way you watch someone having a psychotic break, ready to intervene, but unsure whether intervention will make things better or catastrophically worse. Because I remember it happening. Anakin doesn't elaborate. He's trying to limit how much future knowledge he shares. The more he says, the more he sounds insane. They round a corner and nearly collide with a squad of battle droids, 6 of them in standard tan chassis, their weapons raised, photoreceptors glowing hostile red. Halt! You are... Anakin doesn't let them finish. His hand extends and the Force flows through him in a wave of pure kinetic energy. Not elegant, not controlled. Just raw telekinetic power that crumples all 6 droids simultaneously, like they're made of tissue paper instead of durasteel. The wreckage clatters to the deck in a shower of sparks. Obi-Wan stares at the crushed droids. Anakin, that's not a Jedi technique. No, it's not. Anakin keeps walking. It's something Vader knew. Something I know now. I'm using it because we don't have time for anything else. Vader? Obi-Wan's confusion is palpable. The name Sidious gives me when I become his apprentice. Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith. Anakin's voice is flat, emotionless. That's who I turn into if I make the wrong choice today. Dooku speaks up, his aristocratic voice strained with pain. You said you remember 20 years. What happens? In this future you've seen, Anakin is silent for 3 steps. Then, you die. Right here. Today. On his orders. Mace Windu tries to arrest Sidious in his office. I arrive and stop him, cut off his hand and let Sidious kill him with Force lightning. Then I become Vader. I lead the 501st Legion to massacre the Jedi Temple. I kill younglings. I strangle Padme on Mustafar because she's horrified by what I've become. Obi-Wan duels me, cuts off my limbs, leaves me burning alive on the lava riverbank. Sidious puts what's left of me in a life support suit, and I spend the next 23 years hunting Jedi and serving the Empire as his enforcer. The words fall like stones in a silent pool. Obi-Wan's face has gone pale. Anakin, that's specific. Dooku's voice is tight, Too specific to be a simple vision. The dark side shows possibilities, yes, but not with that level of detail. It's not a vision, Anakin repeats. I don't know how or why, but the Force showed me what I become, forced me to live it. 20 years of memories that don't belong to this timeline but belong to me. And now I have to make sure they never become real. They reach the service shaft entrance, a narrow access panel marked with Aurebesh warning symbols. Anakin cuts through the lock with his lightsaber and pulls the hatch open. Beyond it, a vertical tunnel lined with ladder rungs descends into darkness, emergency lights illuminating it at irregular intervals. Down, Anakin commands. 12 levels. The bridge is at the bottom. How is Count Dooku supposed to climb without hands? Obi-Wan asks. I'll carry him. Anakin deactivates his lightsaber and clips it to his belt. Then he reaches out with the Force, levitating Dooku off the ground. Everyone grab the ladder. When gravity fails, I'll lower us all with telekinesis. That's impossible, Obi-Wan says. The concentration required to levitate 4 people simultaneously while the gravity fails. Everyone lifts off the deck, floating, weightless. Debris tumbles past them. The emergency alarms change pitch as the ship's systems register the transition. Anakin extends both hands, and the Force flows through him in a controlled stream. Not a wave this time, precision. 4 separate telekinetic grips, lowering each person toward the shaft at the exact same rate. His face shows strain. This is difficult even with Vader's enhanced power, but he maintains it. They descend through the shaft in eerie silence, just the sound of breathing and the distant groan of the ship tearing itself apart. Palpatine speaks for the first time since they left the general's quarters. His voice is quiet, conversational and utterly devoid of the grandfatherly warmth he usually projects. You're using the dark side, Anakin. Quite proficiently, I might add. Whatever you think you're doing, you're already walking the path. I know what I'm using. Anakin doesn't look at him. And I know the difference between drawing on dark emotions and giving yourself to the dark side. Vader taught me that. He spent 20 years being consumed by rage and hate. I'm using it as a tool, not letting it use me. A dangerous distinction. The dark side doesn't work that way. It corrupts. It consumes. It turns you into a slave. Anakin's voice hardens. Yeah, I know. I lived it. But I also know that in the future I remember I didn't fall because I used dark side techniques. I fell because I was afraid. Afraid of losing Padme. Afraid of failing. Afraid of being weak. You weaponized my fear and turned it into a chain. He looks at Palpatine now, his eyes cold. But I'm not afraid anymore. I've already seen the worst that can happen. I've already died as Vader and been reborn as Anakin. There's nothing you can threaten me with that's worse than what I've already lived through. Palpatine's expression is unreadable. He's studying Anakin with the intensity of a scientist examining an unexpected variable in a controlled experiment. Fascinating, Palpatine murmurs. The Force has given you quite a gift. Or perhaps a curse. Tell me, Anakin, these memories you claim to have, do they include how you defeated me? In this future that won't happen. Threw you down a reactor shaft on the second Death Star to save his son from your Force lightning. His son. Palpatine's eyes gleam. Padme's children survive then. In your dark future. Anakin's jaw clenches. He realizes his mistake. He's given Palpatine information about Luke and Leia, potential leverage. They survive because Padme hides them before she dies, Anakin says carefully. They grow up apart. Luke on Tatooine, Leia on Alderaan, neither of them knowing who their father is until it's almost too late. The Jedi would never allow Padme to hide Force-sensitive children. They'd be brought to the temple. The Jedi Order is destroyed before the children are born, Anakin says. There's no one left to bring them to, just Obi-Wan and Yoda in hiding, and they choose to protect the children by keeping them secret, even from each other. The group reaches a junction in the shaft, a platform where maintenance crews can access different levels. Gravity returns suddenly, slamming them all down onto the durasteel grating. Dooku cries out as he hits hard, unable to catch himself. Anakin lands in a crouch, absorbing the impact through his legs. He immediately checks their position. 4 more levels. The bridge access should be. A door to their left explodes inward. Battle droids, a full squad of super battle droids with reinforced chassis and heavy blaster rifles, burst through the opening. Intruders detected. Eliminate the Jedi and protect. Anakin's lightsaber is in his hand before the droid finishes speaking. He doesn't deflect the blaster bolts they fire. He does something else, something Obi-Wan has never seen before. He absorbs them. The energy bolts hit an invisible barrier inches from Anakin's body and simply dissipate, their energy bleeding into the force around him. It's a dark side technique, Tutaminis taken to an extreme, using hatred and pain as fuel to create a nearly impenetrable shield. Then Anakin releases that stored energy in a single explosive wave. The blast tears through the super battle droids like a thermal detonator, ripping their chassis apart from the inside. Sparks fountain. Photoreceptors shatter. In 3 seconds, the entire squad is reduced to smoking wreckage. Silence. Obi-Wan is staring at Anakin with something approaching horror. Where did you learn that? Anakin. That's a Sith technique. That's Vader's technique. Anakin deactivates his lightsaber. I told you. I have 20 years of memories as Darth Vader. That includes every dark side power Sidious taught him. I'm using them because we need to survive long enough to expose him. But using the dark side will corrupt me, turn me, make me fall. Anakin's voice is hard. I know, Master. I've heard the warnings my entire life. But I've also lived through the alternative. I've experienced what happens when I'm too weak to do what's necessary. So I'm choosing this. Controlled use. Specific application. And when this is over, I'll face the consequences. He looks at Obi-Wan directly. But right now, I need you to trust that I know what I'm doing. Can you do that? Obi-Wan's hand is on his lightsaber hilt. His instincts are screaming at him to stop this, to intervene to prevent Anakin from sliding further into darkness. But he looks into Anakin's eyes and sees something he's never seen before. Not the impulsive teenager who charged into battle without thinking. Not the angry young man who let emotion cloud his judgment. This is someone older. Harder. Someone who's made terrible mistakes and learned from them the hardest way possible. All right, Obi-Wan says quietly. I'll trust you. But Anakin, when this is over, we're having a very long conversation about what happened to you. I know. Anakin helps Dooku to his feet. Come on. The bridge is close. They descend the final 4 levels in tense silence. The only sounds are footsteps on metal grating, labored breathing, and the omnipresent groan of a dying ship. As they approach the bridge access corridor, Palpatine speaks again. His voice is different now. No warmth, no pretense, just cold calculation. You realize this changes nothing, Anakin. Even if you expose me, even if you somehow convince the Council that I'm Sidious, the mechanisms are already in place. The clone army is programmed. The Senate is corrupted. The Republic is diseased beyond healing. All you're doing is delaying the inevitable. Maybe, Anakin says, or maybe I'm changing the future entirely. Either way, I'm not letting you win. They round the final corner. Ahead, massive blast doors marked with the Separatist sigil seal the bridge entrance. Through the small viewport in the center, they can see movement. The distinctive silhouette of General Grievous, his cape flowing as he gestures to the bridge crew. Obi-Wan and Anakin exchange a look. The cyborg general, the commander of the entire Separatist droid army, the Jedi killer who slaughtered dozens of knights and masters. And beyond him, the controls that will let them take the ship down to Coruscant and end this nightmare. Anakin ignites his lightsaber. Ready? Obi-Wan activates his own blade. Do we have a plan? Same as always. I improvise, you object, and somehow we both survive. Despite everything, Obi-Wan almost smiles. That's not a plan, Anakin. That's a disaster waiting to happen. It's worked so far. Anakin raises his lightsaber to cut through the blast doors. Before he strikes, he looks back at Palpatine and Dooku. When we go through, stay behind us. Don't try to run. Don't try to fight. Just stay alive, because you're both going to testify before the Jedi Council. Understood? Palpatine's expression is neutral, but his eyes burn with cold fury. Dooku simply nods. Anakin drives his blade into the blast doors. Molten durasteel begins to drip. On the other side, alarms blare. Grievous's voice, mechanical, raspy, furious, cuts through. Intruders! Battle stations! The doors fall inward with a crash, and the bridge of the invisible hand is designed to intimidate. A vast, semicircular chamber with wraparound viewports showing the battle raging outside. Holographic tactical displays projecting battle data, and crew pits where Neimoidian officers coordinate the droid army's movements. At the center of it all, General Grievous towers over the crew, his forearms spread wide, his yellow photoreceptors burning with predatory intelligence. Anakin and Obi-Wan burst through the severed blast doors with lightsabers blazing. Behind them, Palpatine and Dooku follow more slowly, the Sith Lords watching the confrontation unfold with expressions of calculated interest. The Neimoidian bridge officers scatter immediately, their natural cowardice overriding any loyalty to the separatist cause. Captain Lushros Dauphine actually trips over his own robes in his haste to reach the escape corridor. But Grievous doesn't flee. He never does. The cyborg general's vocabulator emits a mechanical laugh. Ah, the Jedi. How predictable. And Count Dooku, his photoreceptors focus on Dooku's severed hands. How unexpected. 2IG-100 Magna Guards flank Grievous, their electrostaffs humming with lethal energy. These aren't standard battle droids. They're custom-built bodyguards, trained in anti-Jedi combat, programmed to continue fighting even after catastrophic damage. Obi-Wan falls into Soresu form, his lightsaber held in a classic defensive position, ready to deflect and redirect. General Grievous, you're under arrest by order of the Galactic Senate. The Senate? You mean the corrupt institution that's about to fall? His forearms split open, reaching for the lightsabers mounted on his belt, trophies taken from dead Jedi. I don't think so. Anakin doesn't wait for more banter. Vader's memories include multiple encounters with Grievous across the Clone Wars, and everyone taught him the same lesson. The cyborg general only respects overwhelming force. Anakin extends his hand and channels the force directly at the two Magna Guards. The droids fly backward, not pushed, but pulled with such violence they tear free of their moorings and slam into Anakin's waiting lightsaber. His blue blade impales both guards simultaneously, cutting through their central processors before they can activate their combat subroutines. They fall in sparking ruins. Grievous stares at the destroyed Magna Guards, his vocabulator emitting static that might be surprise. Impossible. No Jedi is that fast. I'm not just any Jedi. Anakin advances, his blade held in classic Gemso form. Aggressive, powerful, designed to overwhelm opponents through sheer kinetic force. And you're not escaping this time. Grievous ignites 4 lightsabers, blue, green, yellow, and orange, stolen from fallen Jedi. His arms split into their full combat configuration, each blade held in a different guard position. He's practiced with these weapons for years, trained by Count Dooku himself in the killing arts. You fool! Grievous's voice rises to a mechanical shriek. I was trained in your Jedi arts by Count Dooku himself. He attacks in a whirling storm of blades, his signature 4-saber assault pattern, spinning so fast the individual weapons blur into a continuous disk of lethal energy. It's a technique that's killed dozens of Jedi Knights, overwhelming their defenses through sheer speed and aggression. But Anakin doesn't defend the way other Jedi do. He meets Grievous's assault head-on, his single blade moving with such precision and power that it deflects all 4 of Grievous's weapons simultaneously. Form V Gemso perfected by 20 years of Vader's combat experience. Every parry is also a strike. Every defense creates an opening. Obi-Wan watches in shock. This isn't the Anakin he trained. This is someone else. Someone who fights like a Sith Lord. Brutal. Efficient. Relentless. Grievous realizes he's in trouble. He's fought hundreds of Jedi. He knows their patterns, their weaknesses, their hesitation. But this one doesn't hesitate. This one fights like he's already killed Grievous a dozen times and is simply going through the motions again. The cyborg general backs toward the main viewport, his 4 blades spinning defensively now instead of offensively. What are you? Your death. Anakin extends his free hand. The force flows through him in a focused stream. Not a wide blast like with the battle droids. Precision. Targeting the weakest point in Grievous's chassis, the duranium plating protecting his organic heart and lungs. Grievous feels the pressure building. He tries to dodge, but Anakin's already anticipated the movement. The force grip tightens, not crushing, but squeezing, compressing. The plating begins to buckle. Grievous coughs, a wet organic sound that's deeply disturbing coming from a mostly mechanical body. His photoreceptors dim slightly. Obi-Wan steps forward. Anakin, we need him alive. He's a prisoner of war. No. Anakin's voice is cold. We don't. He increases the pressure. The duranium plating cracks. Grievous's heart sac ruptures. The cyborg general staggers, his 4 lightsabers falling from nerveless mechanical fingers to clatter on the deck. You cannot, Grievous gasps. I already have. Anakin recalls his lightsaber with the Force, catches it mid-air, and drives it through Grievous's head in one smooth motion. The blade enters through the left photoreceptor and exits through the back of the skull, frying what's left of Grievous's brain. The supreme commander of the droid army collapses like a puppet with cut strings. Silence on the bridge. Obi-Wan is staring at Anakin with undisguised horror. Anakin, that was an execution. He was helpless. You just murdered. I killed a Jedi killer before he could escape and continue the war. Anakin deactivates his lightsaber. In the timeline I remember, Grievous escapes from this ship, flees to Utapau, and you have to hunt him down. That won't happen this time. He's dead. The Separatist military command is decapitated. The war ends faster. But the code says we're peacekeepers, not soldiers. But the galaxy made us generals anyway. Anakin's eyes are hard. I've spent 20 years living with the consequences of following rules while Sith Lords manipulated them. Not this time. This time, I'm ending threats before they can metastasize. Palpatine speaks from near the doorway, his voice carrying a note of satisfaction. You see Obi-Wan? He's already falling, using dark side techniques, executing prisoners. How long before he becomes exactly what he claims to fear? I'm nothing like you. Anakin rounds on Palpatine, his hand moving toward his lightsaber. Aren't you? You just killed a helpless opponent because it was expedient. That's exactly what you condemned me for ordering with Count Dooku. Palpatine's smile is thin, cold. The dark side is seductive precisely because it's effective, Anakin. You're learning that lesson firsthand. Before Anakin can respond, the ship lurches violently. Not a weapon impact. Something catastrophic. The entire bridge tilts 30 degrees to starboard. Unsecured equipment slides across the deck. Warning klaxons scream. On the tactical displays, damage reports flood in. The aft section is separating. The hangar bay has explosively decompressed. Structural integrity is failing across 17 decks. Anakin rushes to the pilot station, shoving aside a terrified Neimoidian. He slides into the command chair and his hands move across the controls with practiced certainty. Again, knowledge he shouldn't have, skills from Vader's memories of piloting damaged vessels. The ship's breaking apart, Anakin calls out. Emergency boosters are offline. We're in uncontrolled descent. Obi-Wan steadies himself against a console. Can you stabilize it? No. But I can aim where we crash. Anakin's fingers fly across the control panel, activating manual helm control, rerouting power from weapons to maneuvering thrusters. We're going down no matter what. I'm trying to make sure we land somewhere that won't kill everyone within 5 kilometers. Through the viewport, Coruscant fills their vision. The cityscape is growing rapidly larger. Endless towers and skylanes. Billions of beings going about their lives, completely unaware that half a separatist dreadnought is about to crash into their world. Dooku staggers to a crash couch and collapses into it, his armless form shaking with exhaustion and pain. How long until impact? 4 minutes. Maybe less. Anakin deploys the emergency drag fins, massive airfoils designed to slow atmospheric entry. The ship groans as the fins catch air, creating massive turbulence. Everyone secure yourselves. This is going to be rough. His expression is neutral, but his presence in the Force radiates dark satisfaction. He's lost control of the immediate situation, but he's patient. He's been planning this for decades. A single setback won't stop him. Obi-Wan moves beside Anakin. Let me help. 2 pilots are better than... No. Strap in. Anakin doesn't take his eyes off the controls. I need you alive to verify what happens next. You're the witness, Master. The one who tells the Council I was telling the truth. Anakin, please. Trust me one more time. Obi-Wan hesitates, then moves to a crash couch. He secures the restraints, but keeps his eyes on Anakin, watching his former Padawan pilot half a ship through Coruscant's atmosphere, with impossible skill. The invisible hand is burning now. Atmospheric friction turns the broken edges of the aft section into streams of molten metal. The forward half, the only part still semi-intact, plunges toward the industrial sectors with Anakin fighting the controls every meter of the way. On the ground below, emergency services are scrambling. Clone troopers, fire suppression teams, medical responders, all converging on the projected impact zone. And at a private landing platform in the Senate district, Mace Windu watches the descent through electro-binoculars. He feels the disturbance in the Force. Something wrong. Something unprecedented. Anakin Skywalker's presence is different. Darker. Older. Mace activates his comlink. This is Master Windu to Temple Command. I'm taking a gunship to meet the invisible hand at its landing point. Something's happened to Skywalker. Alert the Council. On the bridge of the dying dreadnought, Anakin can see the landing zone now. Industrial Platform 773. A massive durasteel surface designed for cargo freighter berths. It's empty right now, evacuated by Republic officials who've been tracking the ship's descent. 30 seconds. Anakin calls out. Brace for impact. He fires the emergency retro thrusters, chemical rockets designed for final deceleration. They ignite in gouts of flame, slowing the ship's descent, but not nearly enough. The invisible hand's forward section hits platform 773 at 300 kilometers per hour. The impact is catastrophic. Durasteel screams. The ship's belly plates crumple. The bridge section, designed to be the ship's strongest point, holds together, but the rest of the forward hull tears apart like tissue paper. Anakin is thrown against his restraints hard enough to crack ribs. The viewports shatter. Alarms reach a crescendo and then cut out as power systems fail completely. The ship slides across the platform for 200 meters, grinding durasteel against durasteel, throwing up a spray of molten sparks visible for kilometers. A control tower in the ship's path is obliterated, turned to rubble in an instant. Finally, mercifully, the wreckage grinds to a halt. Silence, broken only by the hiss of fire suppression foam being sprayed on the hull by emergency crews, and the groan of stressed metal settling. Anakin unstraps himself with shaking hands. His ribs scream in protest. Blood runs down his face from a cut on his forehead. But he's alive. He looks around the ruined bridge. Obi-Wan is conscious, struggling with his restraints. Palpatine is unharmed, protected by the Force, no doubt. Dooku is slumped in his couch but breathing. They survived. Everyone out. Anakin rasps. Before this whole section collapses. He helps Obi-Wan from his crash couch, then moves to Dooku. The Count's eyes open slowly. We lived, Dooku murmurs, almost surprised. Yeah. Now comes the hard part. Anakin helps him stand. We step off this ship, and everything changes. The galaxy will never be the same. Palpatine unbuckles himself and stands with careful dignity. Despite the crash, his robes are barely disheveled. He looks at Anakin with an expression that's difficult to read. You realize what you're attempting is treason, Anakin. The Senate will not allow the Supreme Chancellor to be arrested based on the word of a Sith Lord and a Jedi Knight with delusions of prophecy. Anakin activates his lightsaber, not as a threat, but as a light source in the darkened bridge. After you, Chancellor. Nice and slow. They move through the ruined ship toward the external hatch. Emergency crews are already cutting through the hull, trying to reach survivors. Voices echo from outside. Clone troopers calling for medical support. Fire teams coordinating suppression efforts. Anakin reaches the main hatch and manually cranks it open. Fresh air rushes in. Coruscant's polluted but still breathable atmosphere, mixing with the smoke from the wreck. He steps out onto the boarding ramp first, and freezes. At the bottom of the ramp, surrounded by clone troopers in white armor and Senate guards in ceremonial blue, stands Mace Windu. His hand rests on his lightsaber hilt. His dark face is carved from stone. Behind Mace, Bail Organa's speeder is landing, the senator from Alderaan already moving toward the crash site with C-3PO trailing behind him. Beyond them, a crowd is gathering. Civilians, media crews with holocams, emergency responders. Everyone watching. Anakin takes a breath. His ribs protest. He tastes blood. Then he walks down the ramp with Palpatine in front of him, his lightsaber still ignited, the blue blade reflecting off scorched metal. Mace's eyes widen. Skywalker? What are you? Master Windu. Anakin's voice carries across the platform, loud enough for the holocams to pick up. I'm placing Supreme Chancellor Palpatine under arrest for treason against the Republic. Gasps from the crowd. The clone troopers shift uncertainly, unsure whose orders to follow. Bail Organa stops mid-stride, his face showing shock. Mace's hand tightens on his lightsaber. Anakin, what are you talking about? The Chancellor is Darth Sidious. Obi-Wan emerges from the wreck, supporting Count Dooku, the Sith Lord we've been hunting. Count Dooku has confirmed it. And Anakin, he pauses, struggling with the words. Anakin has seen the future, lived it. He knows what the Chancellor's planning. The crowd erupts in confused murmurs. The holocams focus tighter. Palpatine draws himself up with wounded dignity. Mace, thank the Force you're here. Anakin has suffered some kind of breakdown. He executed Count Dooku's hands, killed General Grievous in cold blood, and now he's taken me hostage with these mad accusations. I have proof. Anakin's voice cuts through. Count Dooku will testify. He'll tell you everything about the clone army, about Order 66, about the conspiracy that spans 13 years, and I'll tell you what happens if we don't stop it here, now, today. Mace looks between Anakin, Palpatine, and Dooku. His Force senses are screaming at him, something is deeply wrong here. The darkness that's clouded the Force for years seems centered on the Chancellor now that he's looking for it. This is a serious accusation, Skywalker. I know. That's why I need you to verify it. Investigate. Question Dooku. Check the evidence. Anakin keeps his blade at Palpatine's back, but do it with the Chancellor in custody, because if he stays free, he'll activate his contingencies and we'll lose our chance to stop him. Bail Organa steps forward. Chancellor Palpatine, if there's even a possibility these allegations are true, the Senate must be certain. For the Republic's sake. Palpatine looks at Bail with an expression of profound betrayal. Senator Organa, surely you don't believe. I believe the matter must be investigated. Bail's voice is firm. Properly. By the Jedi Council and an independent Senate commission. Until then, he signals to the Senate Guard. Detain the Chancellor, for his own protection. Palpatine's eyes flash, just for a microsecond, yellow instead of blue. Then he masters himself. But that flash was enough. Mace saw it. Bail saw it. The Senate Guards move forward with Force-suppressant binders, specialized restraints designed for Force-sensitive prisoners. They hesitate before actually placing them on the Supreme Chancellor, but Bail's presence gives them authority. The binders click into place. Palpatine looks at Anakin. His expression is calm, patient, but his voice when he speaks is pitched for Anakin alone, a Force-enhanced whisper that only a Jedi can hear. This changes nothing. The mechanisms are in place. The Senate is corrupted. The clones are programmed. You're delaying the inevitable, my young friend. And when you finally fall, you'll fall harder than you can imagine. Anakin meets his eyes. I've already fallen. For 20 years. And I climbed back out. That's something you'll never understand. Senate guards escort Palpatine away toward a secure transport. Clone troopers form a protective cordon. The crowd watches in stunned silence. Mace approaches Anakin. The Council will want to speak with you. Immediately, and with Count Dooku. I know. Anakin deactivates his lightsaber. Master Windu, what I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, but I need you to listen. All of it. Because the future of the Jedi Order depends on what we do in the next few hours. What happened to you up there, Skywalker? The Force gave me a gift. Or a curse. I'm still not sure which. Anakin looks at the wreckage of the invisible hand, at the crowd of witnesses, at Coruscant's endless skyline. But I know this. Everything changes from here. The Republic, the Jedi, the war, everything. He turns to face Mace fully, and it starts with the truth about who Palpatine really is. The Jedi Temple rises above Coruscant's sprawl like a monument to 1,000 generations, 5 spires reaching toward the sky, their ancient stones carved with symbols from the Order's founding on Tython millennia ago. Anakin has walked these halls since he was 9 years old, trained here, meditated here, found purpose here. Now he walks them as something else, something that doesn't quite fit the mold anymore. The temple's corridors are filled with Jedi returning from the front lines, dusty, exhausted, their robes scorched by blaster fire. The Clone Wars grind on across the Outer Rim, and the temple serves as both headquarters and sanctuary. Knights and masters nod to Anakin as he passes, recognizing the hero of the Republic. None of them can see what he carries inside, the 20 years of Vader's memories, the weight of a future that must never happen. Mace Windu leads the procession through the temple's main hall toward the council chamber. Behind him walks Anakin, then Obi-Wan supporting Count Dooku, and finally a squad of temple guards in their distinctive masks and yellow lightsaber pikes. The temple medical staff offered to treat Dooku's injuries, but Mace insisted they proceed directly to the council. The accusations are too serious to delay. They ascend through the council tower, the southwestern spire that houses the chamber where the Jedi's wisest masters guide the order. The turbolift ride is silent except for Dooku's labored breathing. The Count's face is gray with pain and blood loss, but his aristocratic bearing remains intact. The doors open onto the council chamber. 12 seats arranged in a circle. 11 are occupied. The 12th, Master Windu's, remains empty as he enters last. Sunlight streams through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the polished floor. The masters turn to face the newcomers with expressions ranging from confusion to alarm. Yoda sits in his customary seat, his ancient eyes studying Anakin with penetrating intensity. The diminutive Grand Master has guided the Order for 800 years. He's seen Sith before, felt their presence. And right now, he's sensing something deeply disturbing from Anakin Skywalker. Ki-Adi-Mundi's cone-headed silhouette leans forward. Master Windu, what is the meaning of this? Why is Count Dooku alive? And why are you bringing a Sith Lord before the council? Because he has information, Mace says. His voice carries absolute authority. Information that, if verified, changes everything we thought we knew about this war. Plo Koon's mask filters his voice, making it resonant and hollow. What information could possibly justify bringing our greatest enemy into the heart of the temple? Anakin steps forward before Mace can answer. Count Dooku will testify that Supreme Chancellor Palpatine is Darth Sidious, the Sith Master you've been hunting for 13 years, the architect of the Clone Wars, the being who orchestrated both sides of the conflict with the goal of destroying the Jedi Order. Absolute silence. Then Shak-Ti speaks, her Togruta mantrals detecting vibrations in the Force that others miss. That's impossible. The Chancellor has been a friend to the Jedi. He's led the Republic exactly where he wants it. Anakin's voice is hard. Into perpetual war, into emergency powers that give him dictatorial control, into dependence on a clone army he commissioned secretly through the murdered Jedi Master Sifo Dyas. Ki-Adi-Mundi rises from his seat. Sifo Dyas commissioned the clone army as a Jedi project. This is documented. It's a lie. Dooku's voice cuts through, aristocratic and precise despite his pain. I killed Sifo Dyas on Darth Sidious's orders. The Kaminoans believed they were fulfilling a Jedi contract, but the entire commission was a Sith operation. The clones were built with a specific purpose, to destroy the Jedi when the time came. Yoda's ears droop. Killed Master Sifo Dyas, you did? Yes. On Obadiah. His body is still there if you care to recover it. Dooku shifts his weight, and fresh pain crosses his face. Sidious needed the clone army in place before revealing himself. He needed the Republic dependent on them, and he needed the Jedi to trust them completely. Why should we believe anything you say? Agen Kolar demands. You're a traitor to the Order. You've killed Jedi. Why would you turn on your own master now? Because he's not my master anymore. Dooku's voice carries bitter venom. Because he ordered Skywalker to execute me after I'd served him faithfully for over a decade. Because I finally realized what I should have known from the beginning. Sith Lords don't have apprentices. They have tools. And when a tool is no longer useful, it's discarded. Mace turns to Dooku. You're claiming you served Palpatine as Darth Sidious's apprentice since you left the Order? A new order to replace the corrupt Republic. He promised me we would rule together. Sidious controlling the government, myself leading the Separatists, and eventually Skywalker commanding a Sith army. Dooku laughs bitterly. I was a fool. He was always going to replace me with Skywalker. I just didn't realize it until Skywalker had both lightsabers at my throat, and Sidious ordered my execution. Obi-Wan speaks up. Anakin refused the order, kept Count Dooku alive as a witness. That's when Dooku revealed the Chancellor's identity. Saesee Tian's brow furrows. And you believed this, Master Kenobi? Based solely on the word of a Sith Lord? No. Obi-Wan's voice is troubled. I believed it because of what I witnessed afterward. The way Anakin fought, the techniques he used, The knowledge he displayed of things he shouldn't know. And because he pauses. Because when I reached out through the Force to sense the Chancellor's presence, I felt something I'd never noticed before. A void. A carefully concealed darkness. Kit Fisto leans forward, his Nautolan head-tail swaying. What techniques, what knowledge? Anakin answers. Dark side techniques. Telekinetic combat beyond standard Jedi training. Force absorption. Precision strikes designed to kill rather than disable. I fought like a Sith Lord because I have the memories of being one. The council erupts in confused murmurs. Mace raises a hand for silence. Explain that statement, Skywalker. Anakin takes a breath. This is the part that will make him sound insane. On the invisible hand, at the moment Palpatine ordered me to kill Count Dooku, I experienced something. A vision. But not like any vision I've had before. I lived 20 years of a future that hasn't happened yet. A future where I execute Dooku, fall to the dark side, become Darth Vader, and serve Emperor Palpatine as his enforcer while hunting down the surviving Jedi across the galaxy. That's absurd, Ki-Adi-Mundi says. Visions are glimpses, possibilities, not detailed memories spanning decades. I know how it sounds. Anakin's hands clench into fists, but I remember all of it. The suit I'll wear because Obi-Wan cuts off my limbs on Mustafar and leaves me burning. The respirator I'll need because my lungs are charred. Padme dying after childbirth because she's lost the will to live after seeing what I became. My children, Luke and Leia, growing up in hiding without knowing their father. 23 years of serving the Emperor, hunting Jedi, enforcing tyranny, and finally at the end, choosing to save my son by killing Palpatine and dying in the process. Yoda closes his eyes. Strong in the Force you are, young Skywalker. But this, unprecedented this is. The Force shows possibilities, not certainties, not lived experience. I don't know how it happened. Anakin's voice is strained. I don't know if it was a warning from the Force itself, or some kind of temporal anomaly, or if my future self somehow sent these memories back. All I know is that when I stood over Dooku with both sabers at his throat, and Palpatine ordered me to kill him, I suddenly knew exactly what that choice would cost. And I refused. Plo Koon's filtered voice is gentle. And these memories you claim to have, they include specific details about the Chancellor being Sidious? Yes, I remember Mace leading a strike team to arrest him, taking Kit Fisto, Ajin Kolar, and Saesee Tiin to the Chancellor's office. I remember Palpatine killing Kolar and Tiin in the first seconds of the fight, Fisto lasting only slightly longer, and Mace almost winning, having Palpatine beaten, disarmed, at his mercy, until I arrive and cut off Mace's hand to save the Chancellor. Then Palpatine kills Mace with Force lightning and makes me his apprentice. Mace Windu's face has gone completely still. Kit Fisto, Ajin Kolar, and Saesee Tiin are staring at Anakin with undisguised alarm. You remember killing me. Mace's voice is dangerously quiet. I remember watching you die because I betrayed you, because I was so afraid of losing Padme that I chose the dark side. Anakin meets Mace's eyes. That's why I'm telling you now, so it doesn't happen. So you know not to trust me when the moment comes. So you execute Palpatine before I can arrive and make the worst mistake of my life. Shakti stands. This is madness. We're discussing arresting the Supreme Chancellor based on a Sith Lord's testimony and a Jedi Knight's claimed prophetic visions. The political ramifications alone. The political ramifications are irrelevant if the Chancellor is actually a Sith Lord orchestrating our destruction. Anakin's voice rises. Masters, I understand how this sounds. I know you have no reason to believe me. But Count Dooku can verify the conspiracy. And if you investigate, really investigate, you'll find the proof. Dooku speaks up. The clone army has inhibitor chips in their brains. Biochips implanted during the embryonic stage on Kamino. They contain Protocol 66, a command that, when activated, will force every clone trooper in the Grand Army to execute their Jedi commanders simultaneously. The council goes silent. Obi-Wan adds, I can verify this. There was an incident during the Battle of Ringo Vinda. A clone trooper designated CT-5385, Tups, suffered a malfunction and killed Jedi Master Tiplar without provocation. The Kaminoans claimed he had a tumor. But if it wasn't a tumor, it was a chip, activating prematurely. Dooku nods. The Kaminoans disguise the chips as organic growths to prevent detection, but they're artificial. Remove one and examine it under a scanner. You'll find the circuitry, the encrypted protocols, the command structure that traces back to Sidious. Shock T's montrals flatten against her head, a Togruta expression of deep concern. If this is true, we've been commanding an army programmed to kill us. That's exactly what Sidious planned. Anakin's voice is grim. In the timeline I remember, he activates Order 66 after I become his apprentice. Thousands of Jedi die in the first hours. The survivors are hunted down over the next 20 years. The Order is reduced to fewer than 100 masters and knights scattered across the Outer Rim. Verify these claims. We must. But carefully. If true, the shadow over the Force, explained, it would be. Clouded our vision has been. Always in motion the future is. But if the dark side source sits in the Chancellor's office, Mace makes a decision. Master Tai, you'll take a medical team to examine a clone's biochip. Use someone you trust completely. We need verification before we proceed further. Shock T bows. I'll handle it personally. Master Kun, you'll investigate Sifo Dyas's death. Check the records. See if there's any indication of where he died or what happened to his body. Plo Koon nods. I'll coordinate with the Temple Archives. Ki Adi Mundi, work with Senator Organa. Trace the financial records for the Clone Army Commission. See if there's any connection to Palpatine or his known associates. Ki Adi Mundi's expression shows deep skepticism, but he nods. Mace turns to Anakin. And you, Skywalker, will submit to a full-force examination. If you truly have memories from a future timeline, the Council needs to verify it. We need to understand what's happened to you. I understand. Anakin's voice is weary. Do whatever you need to do. Yoda rises from his seat and approaches Anakin, his gimmer stick tapping against the polished floor. The ancient Grandmaster is barely waist-high to Anakin, but his presence in the Force is vast. Young Skywalker, look at me. Anakin meets Yoda's eyes. The Grandmaster reaches up, and Anakin kneels to make it easier. Yoda places one clawed hand on each side of Anakin's face. Open your mind, you will. Show me these memories. Show me what the Force has revealed to you. Anakin takes a breath and drops his mental shields, the barriers every Jedi maintains to protect their thoughts. The walls that keep private fears and hopes hidden. Yoda's consciousness touches his own, and the Grand Master gasps. It's like falling into an ocean of darkness. Yoda sees it all, not sequentially but in flashes of overwhelming sensation. The suit, the respirator, the burning, Padme's funeral, the younglings screaming, Luke's face on Bespin, the Emperor's lightning, death and rebirth and 23 years of accumulated pain compressed into seconds of experienced time. Yoda pulls back, stumbling. Mace catches him, steadying the Grand Master. Master Yoda? Mace's concern is evident. Yoda's eyes are wide, ancient, and deeply troubled. Seen it? I have. Felt it. These are not visions. These are memories. Lived experiences. The dark side. So strong. So much pain. So much regret. He looks at Anakin with something approaching awe. Carried this, you have, since the invisible hand? How not driven mad are you? I don't know. Anakin's voice shakes. I should be. Every time I close my eyes, I remember things I haven't done yet, things I should never do. I remember killing Jedi, killing younglings, killing everyone who stood against the Empire. And I have to live with that knowledge while trying to prevent it. Kit Fisto speaks carefully. If Master Yoda has verified Skywalker's memories, then we must consider the possibility that everything he said is true, including the accusations against the Chancellor. Even if Skywalker truly believes these memories, Ki Adi Mundi counters, that doesn't make them accurate. The dark side could have implanted false futures, made him believe. The details are too specific. Obi-Wan's voice is firm. Anakin described the strike team against Palpatine, named the masters who would die, explained the political transition from Republic to Empire, and he knew about the biochips before Dooku mentioned them. If this is a dark side deception, it's more elaborate than anything we've encountered. Saesee Tin looks at Dooku. And you, Count, what do you gain from this testimony? If you're lying, you face execution for war crimes. If you're telling the truth, you're betraying your master and destroying any hope of the separatist cause succeeding. Why help us? Dooku's laugh is bitter. Because I have nothing left to lose. Sidious ordered my death. He revealed that I was always expendable, a tool to be discarded when he found a better one. I spent 13 years believing I was building something better than the corrupt republic. Now I know I was just a pawn in someone else's game. He looks at his severed stumps. I'd rather die honestly than live as a fool. Mace paces the council chamber, his mind working through the implications. If the Chancellor is Sidious, he has legal immunity as head of state. We can't simply arrest him without evidence that will convince the Senate. And if we move against him prematurely, he'll activate whatever contingencies he has in place, including Order 66. Anakin stands. That's his endgame. If he feels threatened, he'll trigger the chips and eliminate the Jedi in one stroke. We need to move carefully, verify everything, build an airtight case, and then strike before he realizes we're coming. Yoda taps his stick. Dangerous this is. Walk a blade's edge we do. Move too slowly and prepare his defenses, Sidious will. Move too quickly and Order 66 he activates. Precision we need. And trust. Trust young Skywalker. We must. Trust Count Dooku's testimony. Trust that the Force has given us warning for a reason. Investigate. Yes. Verify. Certainly. But also prepare. For if true this is, the Order's greatest battle approaches. Agent Kolar speaks for the first time. And Skywalker's claim that he'll betray us? That in the original timeline he cuts off Master Windu's hand and helps Palpatine kill him? That timeline doesn't exist anymore. Anakin's voice is firm. I changed it by keeping Dooku alive, by refusing Palpatine's order, by exposing the conspiracy before it could fully unfold. The future I remember is a possibility I'm preventing, not a destiny I'm following. Mace looks at Anakin with an expression that's difficult to read. I hope you're right, Skywalker. Because if you're wrong, if you're being manipulated by the dark side into believing a false future, we're about to trigger a political catastrophe that could destroy the Republic. I'm not wrong. Anakin meets his gaze. I know the difference between a vision and a memory. I've lived those 20 years, felt them, experienced them in excruciating detail, and I'm not letting them become real. The council chamber falls silent. Outside the tall windows, Coruscant's sun begins to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. The city planet continues its endless cycle, billions of beings unaware that their future is being decided in this room. Mace makes his decision. We investigate, thoroughly, quickly, and quietly. Shak Ti examines the biochips. Plo Koon investigates Sifo Dyas's death. Ki-Adi-Mundi traces the financial records. And he pauses. I'll reach out to trusted senators. Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, Padme Amidala. We'll need political support if this comes to a confrontation. And the Chancellor? Kit Fisto asks. He's currently in Senate detention, but he won't stay there long. The Senate will demand his release unless we can provide evidence. We'll provide evidence. Anakin's voice is hard. Count Dooku will give a full deposition. I'll testify about the future I've seen, and when the biochips are verified, when Sifo Dyas's murder is confirmed, when the financial trail leads back to Palpatine, the Senate will have no choice but to act. Dooku speaks quietly. You're assuming Sidious will allow himself to be investigated peacefully. He won't. When he realizes you're closing in, he'll act. And when a Sith Lord with decades of preparation decides to fight, the consequences will be catastrophic. Then we move faster than he expects. Mace's decision is made. We have hours, not days. The moment the evidence is verified, we act. Master Yoda and I will lead a strike team to take Sidious into permanent custody. And this time, he looks at Anakin. This time, we won't hesitate. Anakin nods. Good, because in the timeline I remember, hesitation is what gets you killed. The Jedi Temple's medical wing is located in the northeastern quadrant, 3 levels below the main halls. Here, in chambers lined with Bacta tanks and diagnostic equipment, Shak Ti works with quiet efficiency. The clone trooper lies sedated on a medical table, his white armor removed, his regulation blacks cut away to expose his shaved head. He's CT 7819, called Blaze by his brothers, a veteran of campaigns on Christophsis and Ryloth. He volunteered for this examination, when Shaak-Ti explained that it could help protect his Jedi commanders. Shaak-Ti's montrals detect the subtle vibrations of his breathing, the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. She's performed medical examinations on clones before, treating injuries, monitoring health. This is different. A medical droid hovers nearby, its scanner focused on the clone's brain. The holographic display shows layers of tissue, neural pathways, the complex architecture of human cognition. There, Shaak-Ti says, pointing to a small mass near the frontal lobe. That structure. Magnify it. The droid complies. The mass becomes larger, more detailed. It's approximately 5 millimeters in diameter, nestled against the brain's cognitive centers. On the surface, it looks organic, neural tissue, perhaps a benign growth. But when the scanner switches to chemical analysis, the truth becomes apparent. That's not organic, Shaak-Ti breathes. The display shows synthetic compounds, nanocircuitry, crystalline processors designed to interface with neural tissue. It's a biochip, the medical droid confirms in its clinical monotone. Artificial construct disguised as natural tissue, specifications consistent with Camino and biotechnology. Function, behavioral modification and command protocol enforcement. Shaak-Ti feels her blood run cold. Can you extract it without killing the host? Affirmative. The chip is designed to be removable. Surgical access required. Estimated time, 37 minutes. Do it. The droid's surgical arms deploy. Precision laser scalpels. Microforceps. The operation begins with careful incisions, peeling back layers of tissue, accessing the chip without damaging surrounding brain matter. Shaak-Ti watches in silence. Every Jedi in the field commands clones, trusts them, fights beside them, considers them brothers in arms. And all of them, every single clone trooper in the Grand Army, has one of these devices in their brain. The droid extracts the chip and places it in a sterile container. The clone's brain shows no damage. The wound is sealed with surgical glue that will dissolve as the tissue heals. Shaak-Ti takes the container and moves to a secondary scanning station. She needs to understand what this chip does, what commands it contains. The scanner reveals layers of encrypted protocols, command structures, behavioral modifications designed to enhance obedience and reduce independent thought. And buried deep in the code, a specific instruction set labeled Contingency Order 66. She activates the protocol analysis. The computer breaks down the encrypted commands, translating them into readable instructions. Contingency Order 66. Authorization Supreme Chancellor. Only command. Execute all Jedi commanders' priority. Absolute override. All previous loyalties in command status. Stanby, Shaak-Ti's hands shake as she reads. Every word is a confirmation of the conspiracy. Every line is proof that Dooku's testimony is accurate. She activates her comlink. Master Windu, this is Shaak-Ti. The biochips are real. Order 66 exists. Every clone in the Grand Army is one command away from executing their Jedi generals. Mace's voice comes through, tightly controlled. You're certain? I've extracted the chip and analyzed its programming. The evidence is irrefutable. She pauses. Master, we've been commanding an army designed to kill us. Sidious has been planning this for over a decade. Send me the full analysis. I'll present it to the Council immediately. Across the temple, in the vast archives where Jedi knowledge has been preserved for millennia, Plo Koon searches through records with growing concern. Jocasta Nu, the archives' stern librarian, assists him. Her memory is encyclopedic, her organization meticulous. But even she's never had reason to search for classified reports on Jedi deaths. Master Sifo Dyas, Plo Koon says, disappeared approximately 10 years ago, listed as killed in the line of duty. But the location of his death was never recorded. Jocasta Nu's fingers fly across the data terminal. The official report states he died in a shuttle accident. No specific location, no recovered body. Just listed as deceased. Convenient. Plo Koon's filtered voice is grim. Someone wanted the details suppressed. I'll check the Council's classified archives. Master Sifo Dyas was a sitting council member when he disappeared. There should be more detailed records. She accesses a restricted database, entering security codes that only senior Jedi possess. The files appear: incident reports, investigation summaries, evidence logs. And there, buried in the reports, a location: Obadiah, a remote moon in the Outer Rim, controlled by the Pike Syndicate. Obadiah. Jocasta Nu's voice is quiet. The report says his shuttle crashed there during a diplomatic mission, but no recovery team was ever sent. The body was left where it fell. Plo Koon's hands clench. Because whoever killed him didn't want the council investigating too closely. If we'd recovered the body, if we'd examined the crash site, we might have found evidence of sabotage. Count Dooku claimed he killed Sifo Dyas on Sidious's orders. If that's true, then the body is still there, and it can be verified. Plo Koon activates his comlink. Master Windu, this is Plo Koon. I've located records indicating Sifo Dyas died on Obadiah 10 years ago. His body was never recovered. I'm requesting permission to lead a recovery team immediately. Mace's voice is firm. Granted. Take a small team. Fast in, fast out. We need that body and any evidence you can find. In the Senate district, Ki-Adi-Mundi sits with Bail Organa in the senator's private office. Between them, a holo projector displays financial records, credit transfers, shell corporations, hidden accounts spanning decades. Bail's expression grows darker with each revelation. These transactions, they're routed through so many intermediaries it's almost impossible to trace. But if you follow the pattern, they lead to the Chancellor's office. Ki-Adi-Mundi's cone-shaped head tilts as he examines the data. Not directly, he's too careful for that, but the timing correlates with major separatist operations. Credits flow out of these accounts, and weeks later, the separatists launch new campaigns. He's been funding both sides. Bail's voice is hollow, using Republic resources to finance the separatists, using the war to accumulate emergency powers. It's brilliant. Monstrous, but brilliant. The Clone Army Commission, specifically, can you trace it? Bail manipulates the data. The official records show the Kaminoans were paid through a Jedi account tied to Master Sifo Dyas. But that account was established 3 years before Sifo Dyas even proposed the clone army to the council. Someone created it in his name, used his identity, and he either didn't notice or was already dead. And the credits in that account? Originally transferred from a Commerce Guild holding company, which is owned by a banking clan subsidiary, which is controlled by, Bail pauses, a Naboo investment trust, established by a young senator named Palpatine 20 years ago. The evidence is circumstantial. Any good lawyer could argue coincidence, explain away the connections. But the pattern is clear. He's been planning this since before he became Chancellor, Ki-Adi-Mundi says quietly. Perhaps since before he entered politics. This isn't opportunism. This is a conspiracy decades in the making. If this gets out, if the Senate learns the Chancellor has been orchestrating the war, the Republic will tear itself apart. Ki-Adi-Mundi's voice is grim. Some will believe the evidence, others will call it a Jedi fabrication. And Palpatine has spent years cultivating loyalty among key senators. He has allies who will defend him regardless of proof. Then we need to be absolutely certain before we act. One chance, Master Jedi. We'll have one chance to remove him from power. If we fail, if he survives the accusation, the backlash will destroy both the Jedi Order and any senator who supported the investigation. Ki-Adi-Mundi meets Bail's eyes. Then, we won't fail. Send this data to Master Windu. Let the Council see the financial web. Combined with the biochips and Sifo Dyas's murder, it's enough to move against him. At the Senate detention facility, Palpatine sits in his cell with perfect composure. The Force suppressant binders remain on his wrists, but they're only as effective as the one wearing them allows. He could break them, could kill the guards, could escape with ease. But that would confirm the accusations, would prove he's more than a simple politician wrongly detained. So he waits, patient, calculating. A visitor arrives. Senator Mas Amedda, the Vice-Chancellor, wearing ceremonial robes and an expression of deep concern. Chancellor, I came as soon as I heard. This is outrageous. The Jedi have no authority to. The Jedi are investigating allegations, Mas Amedda. Palpatine's voice is calm. I appreciate your concern, but I have nothing to hide. Let them investigate. They'll find nothing because there's nothing to find. But to accuse you of being a Sith Lord, a desperate separatist plot, Count Dooku will say anything to save himself from execution. And Skywalker, Palpatine's expression becomes sorrowful. The poor boy has clearly suffered some kind of trauma. Battle fatigue. Force visions that he's misinterpreted. The Council will realize their mistake soon enough. And if they don't? If they proceed with these charges, Palpatine's eyes meet Mas Amedda's. Then the Senate will remind the Jedi that they serve the Republic, not the other way around. No Jedi investigation supersedes the will of the elected government. Mas Amedda nods. I'll begin organizing senatorial support. By tomorrow, we'll have a majority demanding your immediate release. Thank you, old friend. Your loyalty is appreciated. After Mas Amedda leaves, Palpatine sits in silence. His outward calm masks furious calculation. The investigation is proceeding faster than he anticipated. The biochips will be found. The financial records will be traced. Sifo Dyas's body might even be recovered. All circumstantial, all deniable. But together they create a pattern that even his most loyal senators might find difficult to ignore. He needs to accelerate his plans. The emergency session of the Senate is scheduled for tomorrow morning. If he can regain his freedom, if he can address the Senate directly, he can spin this. Turn the investigation into proof of Jedi overreach. Use the accusations to justify removing the Jedi from military command. And if that fails, if the evidence becomes too damning to deny, then he activates Order 66 immediately, burns the Jedi Order to ash, declares martial law, transforms the Republic into the Empire through military force rather than political maneuvering. Either way, he wins. The only question is which path costs him less. In the Council chamber, Mace Windu receives the final reports. Shakti's analysis of the biochip. Plo Koon's confirmation that Sifo Dyas's body is on Obadiah and a recovery team is en route. Ki-Adi-Mundi's financial evidence linking Palpatine to both the Clone Army Commission and separatist funding. And Anakin's testimony. Dooku's confession. The weight of evidence that can no longer be ignored. It's true. Mace's voice is heavy. All of it. The Chancellor is Darth Sidious. The war is a Sith plot. And we've been serving his agenda for 3 years. Yoda taps his stick against the floor. Act, we must. But how? The Senate still supports him. Emergency powers he retains. Move against him directly. And civil war we risk. We don't have a choice. Anakin's voice is firm. The longer he's free, the more time he has to prepare, and the moment he realizes we have conclusive evidence, he'll trigger Order 66. Thousands of Jedi will die. We have to strike now. Tonight. Anakin, even if we arrest him successfully, the political fallout is preferable to the alternative. Anakin cuts him off. In the timeline I remember, Palpatine becomes Emperor because the Jedi hesitate, because we try to do things the right way, through legal channels, respecting political norms. And while we're hesitating, he's activating his contingencies. I'm not letting that happen again. Mace looks at the other council members. Skywalker is right. We move tonight, a strike team to the detention facility. We'll take Sidious into permanent Jedi custody, and then we'll present the evidence to the Senate in a way that makes his guilt undeniable. And if he resists, Kit Fisto asks, then we do what should have been done 13 years ago. Mace's voice is hard. We end the Sith. Yoda closes his eyes. Heavy this burden is, but necessary. Choose the strike team carefully we must. Strong in the Force, skilled in combat, ready for what comes. Master Fisto, Master Kolar, Master Teen, and myself. 4 masters against 1 Sith Lord. It should be sufficient. Anakin steps forward. I'm coming with you. No. Mace's voice is absolute. Your memories show you betraying us. Even if you're fighting against that future, the temptation will be there. The fear for Padme. The manipulation Sidious will attempt. I won't risk it. Then at least let me warn you about what he'll do. Anakin's desperation is evident. I remember the fight. I know his techniques. His tactics, how he'll try to separate you, kill the weaker members first. Use Force lightning to... We'll be prepared. Mace's hand rests on Anakin's shoulder. You've already changed the timeline by keeping Dooku alive, by exposing the conspiracy. Now let us finish it. Trust that we can handle 1 Sith Lord when we know what we're facing. Every instinct screams that he should be there, but he also remembers Vader's role in that fight, remembers cutting off Mace's hand, remembers making the worst choice of his life. All right, Anakin's voice is strained. But Master, when you have him beaten, when he's helpless, don't hesitate. Don't try to arrest him. Don't show mercy. Just end it. Because if he survives, everything I've seen will still happen. Mace nods. I understand. The council disperses to prepare. The strike team arms itself, meditates, centers their minds for the confrontation ahead. And Anakin Skywalker stands alone in the council chamber, watching Coruscant's lights shimmer through the tall windows, and prays to the Force that he's changed enough to prevent the nightmare he remembers. Night falls over Coruscant like a shroud. The city planet's endless lights create an artificial dawn that never quite fades. But in the shadows between towers, darkness gathers. In those shadows, decisions are made that will reshape the galaxy. The Senate detention facility is located 3 levels below the Senate building itself, a high-security complex designed to hold beings too dangerous or too politically sensitive for standard imprisonment. The cells are lined with cortosis ore. To disrupt Force abilities, guard rotations are tight. Surveillance is constant. It should be escape-proof. Palpatine sits in his cell, hands still bound in Force-suppressant binders, and smiles. The guards outside his door are Senate guards, elite troops loyal to the office of Supreme Chancellor, not to the man currently occupying it. But loyalty is a flexible concept, especially when the being you're guarding has spent decades cultivating relationships, establishing favors, and ensuring that key personnel owe him their positions. One of the guards, Captain Argius, steps closer to the cell's energy barrier. Chancellor, I've received word from Senator Ameda. The emergency session is scheduled for first light. You'll be released pending the completion of the Jedi investigation. Thank you, Captain. Palpatine's voice is warm. Your loyalty during this difficult time is noted and appreciated. Of course, sir. Is there anything you need? Just patience. The truth will prevail soon enough. Argius nods and returns to his post. But as he does, Palpatine feels it, a disturbance in the Force. Not immediate, not close, but approaching. 4 presences, powerful, focused, moving through the Senate building with purpose. The strike team. Palpatine's expression doesn't change. He continues sitting calmly, the picture of wrongly accused dignity. But inside his mind races through contingencies. They've verified the evidence faster than anticipated. The biochips, the financial records, perhaps even Sifo Dyas's body. They're coming to take him into permanent custody, which means they've decided he's too dangerous to leave in Senate detention, which means they know. The Force suppressant binders on his wrists are effective, but only if he allows them to be. They suppress passive Force use, make it difficult to draw on the dark side casually. But with focused effort, with the full weight of a Sith Lord's will, they're merely an inconvenience. He has 2 options: escape now, before the Jedi arrive, and trigger Order 66 from a position of strength. Or wait, allow them to take him into Jedi custody, and use the opportunity to eliminate the Council's most powerful members. The second option is riskier, but also more elegant. If he kills Mace Windu and 3 other Council Masters in self-defense, the political narrative becomes infinitely more manageable. The Jedi overreach, attempt an illegal arrest. He's forced to defend himself. Yes, that will work. Palpatine closes his eyes and begins to gather the dark side. Slowly, carefully, drawing power from the shadows of Coruscant, from the fear and anger of billions of beings compressed into one city planet, from his own accumulated decades of hate and ambition. The binders begin to strain. Above, in the Senate building's main corridors, Mace Windu leads his strike team with grim determination. Kit Fisto walks beside him, the Naudolan's headtails swaying with each step. Agent Kolar and Sacy Teen follow, their lightsabers ready but not yet ignited. Remember, Mace says quietly, Skywalker's memories show Sidious killing Kolar and Teen in the first seconds, Fisto surviving only slightly longer. We know his tactics now. We won't be caught off guard. What about Skywalker's role? Kit Fisto's voice is careful. In his timeline, he arrives and betrays you. Do we need to worry about that here? Skywalker is confined to the temple under Master Yoda's supervision. He won't be a factor. Mace's jaw is set. This time we know what we're facing. This time we end the Sith. They descend through security checkpoints, showing council credentials that grant them access to even the most restricted areas. Senate guards eye them warily, but don't interfere. The Jedi have authority here. For now. They reach the detention level. Captain Argius steps forward, his hand on his blaster. Masters Jedi, I wasn't informed of any scheduled access to the detention level. We're here for the Chancellor. Mace's voice carries absolute authority. He's being transferred to Jedi custody pending the completion of our investigation. I'm afraid I can't allow that without proper authorization from... Mace's hand moves in a subtle gesture. You will allow us access. Arguous's eyes glaze slightly. I will allow you access. You will open the Chancellor's cell. I will open the Chancellor's cell. The other Senate guards shift uncomfortably, but they don't interfere as Arguus enters the security code. The energy barrier to Palpatine's cell flickers and dies. Inside, Palpatine rises to his feet. The Force suppressant binders are still on his wrists, but hairline fractures have appeared in the durasteel. His face shows concern and confusion. The perfect mask. Master Windu? What's the meaning of this? Captain Arguus, these Jedi are overstepping their... In the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, Mace says formally, you are under arrest, Chancellor. On what charges? I've been cooperating with your investigation. I've done nothing wrong. You are charged with treason against the Republic, with orchestrating the Clone Wars, with conspiracy to commit genocide against the Jedi Order, and with being the Sith Lord Darth Sidious. Mace's hand rests on his lightsaber hilt. We have evidence. Conclusive evidence. The inhibitor chips in the clones, the financial records, Master Sifo Dyas's murder. All of it traces back to you. For exactly 3 seconds, Palpatine maintains the mask, shocked, betrayed, confused. Then he drops it. The transformation is subtle but absolute. His shoulders straighten. The fear leaves his eyes, replaced by cold calculation. His voice, when he speaks, is different, layered with dark side resonance that makes the air feel heavier. So, you've been more thorough than I anticipated. Count Dooku's testimony proved more useful than I expected. And young Skywalker's visions, Palpatine's eyes gleam. Those were an unexpected variable, the Force itself intervening to warn you. How fascinating. The 4 Jedi Masters ignite their lightsabers simultaneously. Purple, green, blue, and green blades hum to life, casting harsh shadows across the cell. It's over, Sidious. Mace's Vapod stance is perfect, aggressive but controlled, channeling darkness without being consumed by it. Surrender, and you'll stand trial. Resist, and we'll do what should have been done when you first revealed yourself. Trial? Palpatine's laugh is cold. You think I'll let myself be paraded before the Senate? Judged by beings too blind to see what's been in front of them for decades? His eyes burn with yellow fire now the Sith corruption no longer hidden. No, Master Windu, if you want to stop me, you'll have to kill me, and you won't. Because Jedi don't execute prisoners. We do when the prisoner is a Sith Lord who's orchestrated a galactic war. Mace advances, his blade held ready. Last chance. Surrender or die. The Force suppressant binders explode, not gradually, not with warning. One moment they're intact, the next there's shrapnel flying in all directions. Palpatine's hands come up, red lightsabers igniting in both. Not one saber, but 2, hidden in his sleeves, waiting for exactly this moment. And he attacks. Skywalker's memories prepared them for this. Warned them that Palpatine would target the weaker members first, kill them before they could adapt to his speed. The strike team has trained for this exact scenario, practiced coordinated defense, worked to ensure no one is isolated. But knowing is different from experiencing. Palpatine moves faster than any being has a right to move. Form 7 Juyo, the most aggressive lightsaber form. Executed at velocities that blur the edges of visibility. His twin red blades become a whirlwind of death. He targets Ajin Kolar first, not because Kolar is weakest, but because the Zabrak Master's Form 2A, Makashi, is least suited to defending against this level of aggression. The first strike comes high, forcing Kolar to raise his blade. The second comes low, exploiting the opening. Kolar blocks, but barely. The third strike, a spinning slash that seems to come from impossible angles, cuts through Kolar's defense and opens his throat. The Zabrak Master falls, dead before he hits the ground. 3 seconds. Just as Anakin's memories predicted. Saesee Tin reacts with Form I Shicho, trying to create space with wide defensive sweeps. But Palpatine is already inside his guard. A red blade pierces Tin's heart. The Iktochi Master gasps once and collapses. 6 seconds total. Kit Fisto and Mace Windu attack in perfect coordination. Form I and Form 7. Aggression and controlled fury. They've fought together for years, know each other's patterns, can anticipate movements through the Force. Palpatine's twin blades meet both of theirs. The three-way duel fills the cell with the snap hiss of lightsaber contact, the smell of ozone, the Force rippling with violence. "You're better than I expected," Palpatine says conversationally, as if they're sparring in a training room rather than fighting to the death. "Especially you, Windu. That Vapid form, using my own darkness against me. Clever. But ultimately futile. We'll see." Mace presses the attack, his purple blade moving with surgical precision. Every strike is calculated to force Palpatine backward, to limit his mobility, to create openings for Kit Fisto. It's working. Palpatine is defending now instead of attacking. His twin blades spin in complex patterns to block both Jedi simultaneously, but he's not overwhelming them the way he did Kolar and Tien. Then he changes tactics. Palpatine's left hand releases one lightsaber, the blade deactivating mid-spin. Before it hits the ground, his now free hand extends toward Kit Fisto. Force lightning erupts from his fingers. Not the controlled streams he used on individual victims in the past. This is a torrent. Raw dark side energy channeled with the full power of a Sith Lord who's been hiding his strength for decades. Kit Fisto's lightsaber intercepts most of it, the green blade grounding the electricity. But some bleeds through, enough to make the Nautolan Master's muscles spasm. His defense falter. Palpatine recalls his fallen lightsaber with the Force, catches it, and drives both blades through Kit Fisto's torso in an X pattern. The Nautolan's eyes widen. He looks down at the red blades protruding from his chest, then at Mace. "Sorry, old friend. He's stronger than we thought." Kit Fisto falls. 20 seconds. 3 Council Masters dead. Mace Windu stands alone. And then there was one. Palpatine's smile is vicious. The Master of the Order. The great Mace Windu. "Your Vapid form is impressive, truly, but can you defeat me alone?" "Let's find out." Mace's voice is ice. They engage in a duel that would be legendary if anyone survived to witness it. Mace Windu is the greatest lightsaber duelist the Jedi Order has produced in generations. His Vapid form channels darkness without succumbing to it, turns an opponent's aggression into their own defeat. He's fought Sith before, knows their techniques, their patterns, their reliance on fear and rage. But Palpatine is 1,000 years of Sith knowledge incarnate. Every grand plan failure, every dark side technique preserved in holocrons, every lesson learned from the Sith Empire's fall. He carries all of it. The duel moves out of the cell and into the corridor. Senate guards scatter, abandoning their posts as lightsabers carve through walls and ceiling. Palpatine tries to separate Mace from the exit, to trap him in a confined space where mobility is limited. Mace refuses to be cornered. He fights a fighting retreat, maintaining perfect Vapid form, channeling Palpatine's darkness back at him with every parry and riposte. And slowly, incrementally, he gains the advantage. Palpatine realizes it too late. The Sith Lord has been so focused on overwhelming Mace with speed and aggression that he didn't notice the trap closing. Vapid isn't just deflecting his attacks, it's accumulating them, storing the dark side energy, building toward a critical threshold. Mace's purple blade sweeps through Palpatine's guard and cuts deep into his right shoulder. The Sith Lord snarls in pain, his red blade dropping from nerveless fingers. It's over. Mace's blade comes to rest at Palpatine's throat. "You're beaten. The Sith are finished." Palpatine staggers backward, one hand pressed to his wounded shoulder, his face twisted in pain. Please don't kill me. I surrender. I'll stand trial. No more lies." Mace's voice is hard. "I know what you are, what you've done, and I know what will happen if you survive. Skywalker showed us. You don't get a trial. You don't get to manipulate the Senate one more time. This ends here." He raises his blade for the killing strike, and the Senate building's main entrance explodes inward. Not from internal damage, from outside. A massive force blast that tears through durasteel and stone, creating a breach 30 meters wide. Through the smoke and debris, a figure emerges. Anakin Skywalker, his blue lightsaber ignited, his face carved from stone, moving with purpose that brooks no argument. Mace's heart sinks. "No, Skywalker, you were supposed to stay at the temple. Master Yoda fell asleep during meditation. I slipped out. Anakin's voice is tight. I had to come. I had to make sure. He sees the bodies. Agen Kolar, Saci Tien, Kit Fisto, all dead, just like his memories predicted. He sees Mace standing over Palpatine, lightsaber raised, and he sees Palpatine on his knees, wounded, playing the victim perfectly. Anakin! Palpatine's voice is desperate, afraid. Please. He's going to execute me. Stop him. I'll stand trial. This is the moment. The exact moment from Vader's memories. Mace about to kill Palpatine. Anakin arriving. The choice between the Jedi Code and fear of losing Padme. But this time is different. This time, Anakin has lived through the consequences. He knows exactly what choosing Palpatine costs. Do it. Anakin's voice is cold. Master Windu, execute him now. Anakin? He's manipulating you, playing on your mercy, on Jedi principles about not killing prisoners. But he's not a prisoner. Anakin advances, his own blade ready. He's a disease. A cancer that's been growing in the Republic for decades. And if you hesitate, if you show mercy, he'll find a way to survive and everything I've seen will still happen. So do it. Kill him before he... Palpatine moves. His wounded shoulder was a feint. His fear was an act. His remaining lightsaber flies from where it fell into his left hand, igniting mid-flight. He surges upward, targeting Mace's exposed side, but Mace was ready. Vapad taught him to expect betrayal, to channel an opponent's darkness. His purple blade intercepts Palpatine's red, catches it in a bind, and with a twist of his wrists, sends the Sith Lord's weapon spinning away. Palpatine lands badly, his shoulder wound reopening. He's on his knees again, but this time there's no pretense. His yellow eyes burn with hatred and fury. You should have killed me when you had the chance, Windu. I'm correcting that mistake now. Mace's blade descends. Palpatine's hands come up, force lightning erupting from his fingers in a last desperate attack. The purple lightsaber catches it, grounds it, reflects it back. The lightning scorches Palpatine's face, withering his features, revealing the corruption the dark side has inflicted over decades of use. The Sith Lord screams, and Mace Windu's lightsaber cuts through his neck. Darth Sidious's head separates from his body. Both parts fall to the Senate building's floor. The dark side presence that has clouded the Force for 13 years dissipates like smoke in wind. Silence. Mace deactivates his lightsaber, breathing hard. His robes are scorched. His face shows exhaustion and grief. 3 council members dead, but the Sith finally defeated. Anakin stands frozen, staring at Palpatine's corpse. In his memories, in Vader's memories, this moment goes differently. He cuts off Mace's hand. Palpatine lives. Everything falls to darkness, but not this time. This time he chose correctly. Mace looks at Anakin. You disobeyed orders, left the temple when you were explicitly told to stay. I know. Anakin's voice is quiet. But I had to be sure, I had to see it happen. Had to know I wouldn't make the same mistake. And? Mace's gaze is penetrating. When you saw me about to kill him, what did you feel? What did you want to do? Anakin considers the question honestly. Part of me wanted to stop you. The part that still remembers Vader's fall, that still carries the fear of losing Padme. But that part is just an echo now. The reality is that I know what happens if Palpatine lives, and I'm not letting that future exist. Mace nods slowly. You made the right choice, Skywalker. This time you chose the light. Senate guards are flooding into the corridor now, weapons drawn, shouting confused orders. They see the dead Chancellor, see the Jedi standing over his corpse, see the bodies of 3 council masters. This is going to be complicated to explain. The Senate convenes an emergency session at first light. Every senator is present, some in shock, some in rage, some calculating how this shift in power benefits their interests. Bail Organa stands at the central podium, having assumed temporary leadership in the absence of a sitting chancellor. His face shows the strain of a sleepless night spent coordinating with the Jedi Council and attempting to prevent galactic panic. Senators of the Republic. Bail's voice carries across the vast chamber. I know you have questions. I know many of you are angry, confused, and demanding answers. Those answers will be provided. But first, you need to understand what has transpired. The chamber erupts in shouted questions. Bail raises his hands for silence. Supreme Chancellor Palpatine is dead. He was killed last night by Jedi Master Mace Windu during an attempted arrest. But before you condemn the Jedi for this action, you need to see the evidence that prompted it. Holographic displays activate throughout the chamber. Every senator's personal screen shows the same information simultaneously. The inhibitor chip, extracted from a clone trooper's brain, analyzed, documented. The command protocols clearly visible. Order 66, execute all Jedi. Financial records, decades of transactions, shell corporations, credits flowing from Palpatine's personal accounts to separatist operations. Testimony from Count Dooku, recorded before Jedi witnesses, describing in detail how he served Palpatine as Darth Sidious's apprentice for 13 years. And finally, footage from the Senate detention facility. Palpatine dropping his mask, his eyes turning yellow, Force lightning, lightsabers, the transformation from kindly Chancellor to Sith Lord, captured on security recordings. The Senate falls silent as they watch their leader reveal himself as the architect of the war that's killed billions. The evidence is conclusive, Bail continues. Palpatine was Darth Sidious. He orchestrated both sides of the Clone Wars. He commissioned the clone army with the specific intent of using it to destroy the Jedi Order. And when he was confronted with this evidence, he attacked the Jedi strike team, killing 3 council masters before being defeated by Master Windu. Mon Mothma rises from her pod. I don't have words for this. The Chancellor we trusted, who we gave emergency powers to, who we allowed to reshape the Republic. He was a Sith Lord. Yes, Bail's voice is heavy, and we were all deceived, every one of us, the Jedi included. He hid in plain sight for decades, manipulating events, orchestrating the war, positioning himself to transform the Republic into an empire. A Neimoidian senator's voice rises with indignation. And we're supposed to just accept this? Accept that the Jedi killed our Chancellor based on their investigation? You're supposed to accept the evidence. Mace Windu enters the Senate chamber, accompanied by Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi. The 3 Jedi move to stand beside Bail at the podium. We've lost 3 council masters to Sidious's lightsaber. Kit Fisto, Agent Kolar, and Saesee Tiin died stopping him. We didn't want this confrontation. We didn't want any of this. But when confronted with proof that a Sith Lord was controlling the Republic, we did what we had to do. And what about the war? Another senator demands. The Separatists? Are we to believe they'll simply surrender now that Palpatine is dead? Already word spreading is. The Separatist Council on Utapau contacted we have, shown them the evidence we did, revealed how Sidious manipulated them also. Many Separatist systems laying down arms they are. Realized they do that pawns they were, just as the Republic was. Some will continue fighting, Obi-Wan adds. There are hardliners, true believers who won't accept that their cause was built on Sith manipulation. But the war is effectively over. The Separatist leadership is suing for peace. Bail takes control again. The Senate must address immediate priorities. First, the clone army. Every clone trooper has an inhibitor chip that when activated would force them to execute Jedi. These chips must be removed immediately. The Jedi have volunteered to coordinate this effort across the galaxy. Second, the emergency powers granted to Palpatine. Those powers are hereby revoked. The constitutional safeguards that were suspended during the war will be reinstated. And third, we must elect a new Chancellor, someone not tainted by Sidious's influence, someone who can guide the Republic back to its democratic foundations. The debate continues for hours. Some senators remain skeptical, convinced this is a Jedi power grab, a coup disguised as investigation. But the evidence is too overwhelming to dismiss. By mid-afternoon, the Senate has voted. The emergency powers are revoked. Bail Organa is elected interim chancellor, pending full elections in 6 months, and a commission is established to root out any remaining Sidious loyalists in the government. The Republic survives, barely. In the Jedi Temple, Anakin stands in the Room of 1,000 Fountains, a vast garden where water cascades over ancient stones and meditation alcoves offer peace. He's exhausted, hasn't slept since before the mission to rescue Palpatine from the invisible hand, hasn't stopped moving since the memories flooded into him. Padme finds him there. She's visibly pregnant now. 5 months, her condition no longer concealable. She crosses the garden with careful steps, one hand on her belly, her face showing concern and relief in equal measure. Anakin. He turns, and the moment he sees her, something in him breaks. All the control, all the discipline, all the careful management of Vader's memories. It cracks. He crosses to her in 3 long strides and pulls her into an embrace, careful of her condition but desperate for the contact. She holds him back, feeling him shake against her. "It's over," he whispers against her hair. "Palpatine's dead. Order 66 is stopped. The war's ending. It's over. I know. I saw the Senate footage." Padme pulls back to look at his face. "Anakin, what you did, exposing him, preventing the conspiracy, you saved the Republic. You saved everything. I almost didn't." Anakin's voice is raw. "When I got to the Senate building and saw Mace about to kill him, there was a moment, just a moment, where Vader's memories almost won. Where I almost cut off Mace's hand and saved Palpatine just like I did in the timeline I remember. The fear was still there. The terror of losing you. But you didn't." Padme's hands frame his face. "You chose differently. You chose us over fear. You chose the future over the past. I chose you alive over a fantasy of saving you by damning myself." Anakin's eyes are wet. "In the timeline I remember, I became Vader because I was afraid you'd die in childbirth. Palpatine showed me visions of it, fed my nightmares, convinced me that only the dark side could save you. And I believed him. I threw away everything. The Jedi, my friendship with Obi-Wan, my own humanity, to gain power I thought would keep you alive. And in the end, you died anyway, because of what I became." Padme's hand moves to his cheek. "But I'm not dying. The medical droids say the pregnancy is proceeding normally. There are no complications. I'm healthy. The babies are healthy. You have nothing to fear. I know. Intellectually, I know. But Vader's memories are still there, still whispering that something could go wrong, that I need to be vigilant, that I need more power, more control, more—" He stops himself. "I'm fighting it. Every day, every moment. But it's hard. Then let me help you fight it." Padme's voice is firm. "You're not alone in this, Anakin. You have me, you have Obi-Wan, you have the Council, and soon you'll have Luke and Leia. You're not Vader anymore. You're their father. My husband, and that's enough." They stand together in the garden while water cascades around them, and sunlight filters through ancient trees. Slowly, the tension in Anakin's shoulders eases. "The Council wants to talk to me," Anakin says eventually. "About what happens next. About my status as a Jedi. What do you want to happen?" Anakin considers the question. "I don't know. I've violated so many aspects of the code. Used dark side techniques. Killed in anger. Refused orders. And I can't promise I won't do it again if the situation demands it. Vader taught me that sometimes the code isn't enough. Sometimes you have to be willing to walk the line between light and dark to protect what matters. That sounds like something the Council might not accept. I know. Which means I might not have a future as a Jedi. Not in the traditional sense." He looks at her. "Would that be all right? If I left the Order? If I chose to be your husband and our children's father instead of being a Jedi Knight?" Padme's smile is gentle. "Anakin, I fell in love with you, not with your title. If you choose to leave the Order, I'll support that. If you choose to stay and help them rebuild, I'll support that too. Whatever you decide, we'll face it together." Together. Anakin tests the word. In Vader's memories, he was always alone, isolated by the suit, by his choices, by the darkness. But here, now, he has Padme. Has their unborn children. Has a future that doesn't end in fire and pain. "Come on." Padme takes his hand. "Let's go talk to the Council. Whatever they decide, we'll handle it." They walk together through the temple, husband and wife, no longer hiding their relationship. The secret marriage that, in another timeline, would have been leverage for Palpatine to exploit, is now just a fact. Acknowledged, accepted, no longer a weapon anyone can use against them. The Jedi Council chamber is quieter than usual. 3 seats remain empty, permanent reminders of the cost of stopping Sidious. Kit Fisto's seat, Agen Kolar's seat, Ceci Tien's seat. Their sacrifice will be honored, but the pain of their loss is still fresh. The surviving council members are assembled. Yoda in his customary seat, Mace Windu, his robe still showing scorch marks from Force lightning. Plo Koon, Shak Ti, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Obi-Wan Kenobi now officially elevated to fill one of the empty seats. And others, Jedi summoned from across the galaxy to help guide the Order through this transition. Anakin stands in the center of the circle. Padme waits outside, her presence in the temple no longer scandalous but accepted. Skywalker. Mace's voice is formal. The Council has deliberated on your actions over the past days. We've considered your use of dark side techniques, your refusal of direct orders, your violation of the code through secret marriage, and we've weighed these against your role in exposing Darth Sidious and preventing the destruction of the Order. Anakin stands silent, waiting for judgment. Your actions were, Mace pauses, searching for words, unprecedented. You used knowledge that shouldn't exist to change a timeline that hasn't happened yet. You employed dark side powers in service of the light. You saved us by breaking nearly every rule the Order holds sacred. I did what I had to do, Anakin says quietly. I saw the future, lived it, and I couldn't let it happen. A question, young Skywalker. These memories from the future, fading, are they? Or remain they still, vivid and present? Anakin considers. The memories are still there, but they feel more distant now. Like dreams rather than lived experiences. The intensity has diminished. They're fading, he admits, slowly. I can still remember the broad strokes, the suit, the Empire, my children growing up without me. But the details are becoming hazier, like it's becoming someone else's story instead of my own. Good. Yoda's ears lift slightly. The Force gave you warning, showed you what to avoid. But hold on to those memories forever, you should not. Let them fade. Let them become lessons learned rather than trauma relived. Heal, you must. Ki Adi Mundi speaks. The question remains, what do we do with you? You've proven invaluable, but you've also proven unwilling to follow the code when it conflicts with what you believe is necessary. I am unwilling to follow the code blindly, Anakin corrects. I respect the principles. I understand why the prohibitions exist, but I've also seen what happens when the Jedi become so rigid that we can't adapt to genuine threats. Vader taught me that sometimes the answer isn't in the code. Sometimes you have to make hard choices based on the specific circumstances. Shak T's montrals flatten thoughtfully. That's a dangerous philosophy. It suggests Jedi should be able to use the dark side when convenient, to kill when it seems necessary, to ignore our principles when they become inconvenient. No. Anakin's voice is firm. It suggests that Jedi should be wise enough to recognize when the greater good requires flexibility. I didn't use dark side techniques casually. I used them because we were facing a Sith Lord who'd been planning our destruction for decades, and we needed every advantage. And I didn't kill Dooku despite Palpatine's orders, because executing a helpless prisoner is wrong regardless of circumstances. A nuanced position, Plo Koon observes, but difficult to codify. If we allow exceptions to the code, where do we draw the line? How do we prevent Jedi from justifying anything by claiming special circumstances? You trust them. Obi-Wan speaks up, his voice carrying weight. You trust that their training, their connection to the Force, and their fundamental commitment to the light will guide them correctly. Anakin used dark side powers, yes, but he used them in service of preventing genocide. He killed Grievous, yes, but he kept Dooku alive when ordered to execute him. He showed judgment, discretion, the ability to make difficult choices without being consumed by darkness. Mace looks at Anakin directly. And your marriage to Senator Amidala. That's a clear code violation. The prohibition on attachment exists for good reason, to prevent Jedi from being compromised by personal connections. Anakin's voice is passionate now. In the timeline I remember, my attachment to Padme was exactly what Palpatine exploited. He knew I was terrified of losing her, so he showed me visions of her dying, and offered the dark side as salvation. And I fell for it because I was so afraid of attachment being discovered that I couldn't talk to anyone about my fears. I couldn't ask for help. I was isolated by secrecy, and that isolation made me vulnerable. He takes a breath. But if the Council had known about our marriage from the beginning, if I could have openly acknowledged loving her, Palpatine couldn't have used it against me. The secrecy was the weapon, not the attachment itself. And the code that forced that secrecy made me weaker, not stronger. Long have I wondered if the prohibition on attachment serves the Force, or merely serves our fear of the dark side. Attachments can be exploited, yes, but also, give strength they can. Anakin's love for Padme nearly destroyed him, but also, saved him it did. At the end, Wen chose he did to save his son instead of serving the Emperor. The Council exchanges glances. This is dangerous ground, questioning fundamental tenets of the Code. But the war has shown the flaws in the old ways. The Jedi became generals when they should have been peacekeepers. They served the Senate when they should have served the Force. They missed a Sith Lord in plain sight because they were too focused on following rules to see what was really happening. Mace makes a decision. The Council proposes a compromise. Skywalker, you will remain a Jedi Knight, but you will not be elevated to Master. Not yet. You've proven your value, but you've also proven your willingness to deviate from our teachings. You'll serve the Order, but on your own terms. No more hiding your marriage. No more secret attachments. If you're going to be part of this Order while maintaining relationships the Code traditionally prohibits, you'll do it openly, honestly. And if I choose to leave, Anakin asks, to focus on my family instead of the Order. Then you leave with honor, Obi-Wan says. You've saved the Republic, saved the Jedi. You've earned the right to choose your own path. But Anakin, his voice softens. I hope you stay. Not because the Order needs you, though we do, because I think you need us. You're carrying heavy knowledge, trauma from a future that didn't happen but that you experienced. You'll need support, community, and the Order can provide that. Anakin looks around the circle of council members, these beings who've guided him, frustrated him, trained him, and trusted him despite his violations. These Jedi who survived because he changed the timeline. I'll stay, he decides. But not as I was before. I'm not the Padawan who follows orders without question. I'm not the knight who hides his true self to avoid punishment. I'm Anakin Skywalker, Jedi Knight, husband to Padme Amidala, father to Luke and Leia. And I serve the Force on those terms, or not at all. Mace nods slowly. Then we accept those terms. The Order is changing, Skywalker. It has to. After what we've learned, the Code will be reviewed, the prohibition on attachment will be reconsidered. And your role in that process will be valuable. You've walked the line between light and dark. You know what both sides offer. That perspective will help us rebuild stronger than before. Yoda rises from his seat. A new era begins. The Sith, defeated they are. The war ending it is. And the Jedi Order transform it must. Learn from our mistakes, become wiser, more flexible, more connected to the living Force rather than dogma. Guide this transformation, we will, together. The council session concludes. As Anakin turns to leave, Obi-Wan catches his arm. Anakin, what you said earlier about the memories fading, are they really? Anakin meets his former master's eyes. Yes, slowly. Like the Force is taking back what it showed me now that the danger has passed. I'll always remember the broad strokes, always know what I prevented. But the details, the day-to-day experience of being Vader, that's becoming less vivid, less overwhelming. Good. Obi-Wan's relief is evident. Because for a while there, I was afraid we'd lost you, that the Anakin I trained had been replaced by some darker version from a nightmare future. You didn't lose me, Master. You saved me, by trusting me even when I gave you every reason not to, by believing my impossible story about living 20 years in the future, by standing with me against Palpatine. Anakin's voice is sincere. Thank you, for everything. Obi-Wan pulls him into an embrace, brief, but meaningful. You're my brother Anakin. In any timeline, any future. That doesn't change. They separate, and Anakin leaves the council chamber to find Padme waiting in the corridor. She takes his hand without a word, and together they walk through the temple toward their future. 6 months later, the galaxy has found an uneasy peace. The Clone Wars officially ended when the Separatist Council surrendered on Utapau, their leadership fractured by the revelation that Count Dooku and General Grievous were serving a Sith Lord who was simultaneously controlling the Republic. Some hardline Separatist systems continued fighting for weeks afterward, but without centralized command or Sith coordination, they were isolated and eventually brought to heel through negotiation rather than conquest. The clone army underwent mass decommissioning. Every clone trooper who wanted the inhibitor chip removed received the surgery. Many chose to remain in a reformed Republic military, smaller, volunteer-based with constitutional oversight. Others retired, seeking civilian lives on dozens of worlds. A few, unable to cope with the knowledge that they'd been programmed weapons, took their own lives despite Jedi counseling. The Senate restructured under Bail Organa's interim leadership. Palpatine's emergency powers were dismantled. Constitutional safeguards were reinstated, and after months of political maneuvering, Mon Mothma was elected Chancellor in fair elections, the first in over a decade. The Jedi Order began its transformation. The Council, led by Yoda and Mace Windu, initiated a comprehensive review of the code. The prohibition on attachment wasn't eliminated. That would be too radical. But it was reinterpreted. Jedi could form relationships, could acknowledge love, as long as those connections served the Force rather than selfish desire. It was a subtle distinction, but an important one, and Anakin Skywalker became a father. The delivery happened on Naboo, in Padme's family estate overlooking the lake country. Jedi healers attended alongside medical droids, ensuring no complications. The birth was difficult. Twins always are, but Padme was strong, and the Force was with them. Luke Skywalker entered the world first, crying with healthy lungs, his small face scrunched and red. Leia followed minutes later, quieter but no less vital, her presence in the Force already noticeable even as an infant. Anakin held them both, one in each arm, and felt the last of Vader's memories finally fade. The dark future he'd lived for 20 years became truly just a story, a cautionary tale about what could have been, not a destiny he was fighting. "They're perfect," Padme whispered from the bed, exhausted but smiling. "They are." Anakin's voice was thick with emotion. "And they'll grow up knowing both their parents. No hiding, no separation, no Empire hunting them. Just a normal childhood." Obi-Wan stood in the doorway, watching the scene with an expression of profound relief and joy. Well, perhaps not entirely normal. They're both strong in the Force. When they're old enough, they'll need training. "Then I'll train them." Anakin looked up. "Not as the Order trained me. Taken from their parents as infants. Raised in the temple with no outside connections. They'll grow up here, with Padme and me. And when they're ready, they can choose whether to become Jedi. It'll be their choice, not an obligation. The Council will want input. The Council will accept that things are different now." Anakin's voice was firm but not angry. The old ways created the conditions for Palpatine to rise. The new ways need to be better. "And that starts with letting these children have a childhood." Obi-Wan smiled. "I'll support that, and I suspect Master Yoda will too. He's been quite vocal about the Order needing to change." He approached the bed, looking down at the twins. "They'll be extraordinary. I can feel it. The children of the Chosen One, trained in balance rather than fear, growing up without the shadows that haunted their father." "No shadows," Anakin agreed. "Just light, just family, just peace." 2 years later in the Jedi Temple's meditation gardens, Anakin sits with Luke and Leia. The twins are toddlers now, walking unsteadily, exploring the world with endless curiosity. Luke is quiet, contemplative, more likely to sit and observe. Leia is bold, determined, already trying to use the Force to pull toys to her hand. Anakin watches them play and thinks about the future. Not the dark future Vader lived, but the real future. The one he's building day by day. The Order has changed, just as he hoped. Younger Jedi are questioning old assumptions, forming relationships, acknowledging that attachment doesn't necessarily lead to the dark side. The Council is more diverse, more willing to listen to dissenting opinions, and Anakin himself has found balance. He still remembers Vader, will always remember, but those memories no longer define him. They're tools, lessons, warnings about what happens when fear becomes the guiding principle. "Papa, look." Leia holds up a rock she managed to levitate. It wobbles in the air, held by a toddler's unfocused Force grip, but it's genuine telekinesis. "Very good, Leia." Anakin guides her gently. "But remember, the Force isn't about taking things. It's about connecting to them. Feel the rock. Understand it. Then it'll come to you naturally." Luke tries to copy his sister, concentrating hard on a different rock. It doesn't move, and his face scrunches with frustration. "It's all right, Luke." Anakin ruffles his son's hair. "The Force works differently for everyone. You're strong in it, I can feel that. But your strength might not be in moving objects. It might be in sensing things, understanding things. That's just as valuable." As if to prove the point, Luke suddenly points toward the garden entrance. "Someone's coming." Anakin turns, and moments later Padme appears, walking toward them with a smile. Luke sensed her approach before she was visible, a demonstration of force perception that many older Padawans struggle with. "See?" Anakin says to Luke. "You knew she was coming before any of us saw her. That's the force working through you." Luke beams, proud of himself. Padme joins them, settling onto the garden bench beside Anakin. "How's the training going?" They're naturals, both of them. Anakin watches his children play, strong in the Force. But more importantly, they're growing up balanced, happy, no fear, no darkness, no Sith Lord manipulating them. Padme's hand finds his. "You changed the timeline, saved the galaxy, and gave our children a future worth living in. I had help." Anakin looks at her. "I couldn't have done any of it without you, without knowing that saving the galaxy meant saving our family. That was worth any cost." They sit together in the garden while their children play, and Anakin Skywalker, former Darth Vader, current Jedi Knight, husband and father, feels something he thought was impossible: peace. The galaxy is healing. The war is over. The Sith are defeated, and the future stretches ahead bright with possibility, instead of dark with inevitability. 10 years after the death of Darth Sidious, the galaxy has transformed. The Republic stands stronger than it did before the war, its government reformed through the painful lessons learned during Palpatine's rise. Constitutional checks prevent any Chancellor from accumulating emergency powers. The Senate is more democratic, more representative, less easily manipulated. The Jedi Order has evolved, no longer generals commanding armies, no longer political tools serving the Senate's interests. They've returned to their original purpose: peacekeepers, mediators, guardians of the Force in all its forms. And they allow attachment now. Not carelessly, not without wisdom, but they acknowledge that love doesn't necessarily lead to the dark side. That family, friendship, and connection can be sources of strength rather than weakness. Luke and Leia Skywalker are 12 years old, training as Padawans under multiple masters. Luke studies with Yoda, learning patience and connection to the living Force. Leia studies with Shakti, learning diplomacy and how the Force can guide political decisions. Both are extraordinary in their own ways. Luke is powerful but gentle, preferring to resolve conflicts through understanding rather than combat. Leia is fierce and determined, already showing the political acumen that will one day make her a senator like her mother. Anakin Skywalker watches them train from the council chamber observation deck. He's been offered a council seat multiple times, earned it through his role in stopping Sidious, but he's refused each time. He serves the Order in other ways: teaching, mentoring, helping young Jedi understand that the path between light and dark is narrower than the old Jedi believed, but also more navigable, with proper guidance. Obi-Wan joins him at the window. They're remarkable, both of them. You must be proud. Every day, Anakin's smile is genuine. They're growing up without the fears I had, without the manipulation, without the shadows. Just children learning to use extraordinary gifts responsibly. Do you ever tell them? About the other timeline? About Vader? Anakin considers. Not the details. They know I had visions of a dark future that I prevented. They know Darth Sidious tried to turn me and failed. But I don't burden them with Vader's specific memories. Those are mine to carry, not theirs. Do the memories still trouble you? Sometimes less than they used to. The Force has been kind. Let them fade to something more like dreams than experiences. But I remember enough. Anakin looks at his hands. I remember what I was capable of becoming. What I would have done if I'd made the wrong choice. And I use that knowledge to make sure I never make that choice. You've done well, Anakin. Better than well. You saw the worst possible future and you prevented it. Not many beings can say that. They stand in companionable silence, watching the next generation train. Master Yoda asked me something yesterday, Anakin says eventually. He asked if I thought I fulfilled the prophecy. If I'm truly the chosen one who brought balance to the Force. And what did you say? I said I don't know. I defeated a Sith Lord, prevented the Order's destruction, saved the Republic from becoming an empire. But I also used dark side powers to do it. Walked the line between light and dark. Does that count as bringing balance? Or did I just delay the inevitable? Obi-Wan considers. Perhaps balance doesn't mean eliminating the dark side entirely. Perhaps it means understanding both light and dark, knowing when to use which, walking the path between extremes without being consumed by either. That's what I told Yoda. Anakin's smile is wry. He said that was very wise. Then he hit me with his stick and told me to stop overthinking prophecies and focus on being a good father. Obi-Wan laughs. Sound advice. The Force works through us in mysterious ways, Anakin. Whether you're the chosen one or not, you've done something extraordinary. You've given the galaxy a future. And sometimes that's enough. Down in the training yard, Leia successfully disarms her opponent in a lightsaber duel, while Luke uses the Force to predict another student's attack pattern and defend perfectly. Both children are strong, capable, and most importantly, balanced. Anakin Skywalker watches his children and knows that whatever else happens, whatever challenges the future brings, he made the right choice on the invisible hand. He refused to kill Count Dooku, kept him alive as a witness, exposed Darth Sidious, prevented Order 66, saved the Jedi Order, and gave Luke and Leia a childhood free from the darkness that could have consumed them. The galaxy is at peace. The Force is in balance. And Anakin Skywalker, who once lived as Darth Vader but chose a different path, stands watch over the future he created, knowing that sometimes the greatest power is simply choosing light when darkness would be easier. The prophecy is fulfilled, not through destruction, but through prevention, not through eliminating the dark, but through choosing the light. And that, in the end, is enough. Let us know what you'd like to see.